2, 1. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is fucking cool. Thank you both for coming down.
Thanks for having us.
I've been very, very much looking forward to this. We were just talking about it, but congratulations on starting your podcast and making the improvements you have. Like, it's so
still making them.
It's a learning process.
Yeah.
I'm barely 3 years into this, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of shit that I'm still figuring out. Like, oh, probably shouldn't do that. Oh, probably should have bought that first. Why start a podcast? I love asking that question.
I think we've always wanted to do something together. We used to do these cooking shows in high school.
They were bad.
They were really bad. It was kind of cringe, but I wish we still had the videos. We would go on live on Instagram and we'd be like, okay, come cook with Gabby and Nat.
And it would just be straight chaos.
Yeah, we would put, go ahead.
I think we were trying to figure out how to make healthy baking shit. And I don't bake because I hate, that's the hardest thing with the cooking videos I make now is I hate measuring things because I like to just, measure with my heart and my eyes.
That's what made me a shitty bodybuilder. So I feel that. Yeah, I get that.
And so we would try and make recipes that just didn't.
I think I just remember this. I don't even know what we were making. Probably some protein muffins, and you broke the egg and some of the shell in, and you're like, it's okay. Just a little bit extra love in there.
A little extra crunch.
Yeah. And then we were like, oh, we didn't wash our hands. We're like, it's fine.
And
we're
it
just
fell
on
on
live
the
whole
floor.
time.
We picked it up. We're like, it's just us eating it. We're not selling it.
Well, yep, that's good. Yeah, but I don't know. I think we did a live together, and we've always talked about starting a podcast, and then we just did it. I don't know.
Yeah, we'd been talking about it for a little while, but we kept using Gabby being in school and stuff as kind of an excuse to not start it. Cause we're like, we're just both so busy. And then we were just like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's research equipment for one day and then go buy it.
That is exactly what I did. If it makes you feel any better. I said to myself, okay, I've watched enough Joe Rogan. I know what to do, right? And and so I said, I've got $100. How far can I get? Yep. And it got me nowhere.
Yeah.
I have one of them around here somewhere, but I got these little video cameras that were, I didn't realize how much video cameras actually cost.
Good ones, quality ones.
Yeah, no fucking clue. But the ones that I got were $25.
Nice.
Out of the back of a fucking Chinese warehouse.
Love
and
that.
Yeah, they came in these little white boxes. And it just said video camera. That was the brand. There was no anything else. It just said video camera, and it looked like whoever put this together had the sticker. They weren't printed. Was it full HD, 1080p? No, stickers were on there that said full HD and 1080p. And I had these shitty little $15 mics.
I love it.
I mean, I think all the cords that I bought cost more than the one video camera.
Yep.
And my buddy, who was a producer for me at the time out in LA, I sent him the footage over Google Drive. That shows you how shitty the video files were. And he goes, yeah, dude, we can't use this. This is fine. You're doing audio until you get some money together. And I was like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Because I found out about you guys through Sarah, actually. Mm-hmm. She had shout out to Peanut Pottery.
Yay!
Beautiful
She's
shit.
Awesome.
Go buy her stuff.
Yes.
Peanut Pottery. She has I think it's in on Central now, right?
Yeah, but she also has a website. So
yeah, it's 3rd and Gold.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I went there once. It's right next to the underground sports and wellness and all that shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. And I saw her share your guys' stuff. I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. More podcasting in Albuquerque. Mm-hmm. This is fucking awesome. How long have you guys been doing it for?
We have 8 podcasts now. So I think
we have 5 since we restarted.
I was gonna say you guys rebranded.
We rebranded and we have 5 under Embody Your Health, and then Tits and Talk, which was the first name. I think we only got to maybe 4, 5, 6 somewhere. Not in the double digits.
So less than a year now, and it's still a learning curve.
What made you guys want to rebrand or readjust?
Gabby
I guess
can answer that.
I feel like it was more me, and I think it was because I know that we're both really good workers, and I feel like we have a lot of potential to make it a really good podcast. Yeah. And being in a professional setting, because I'm going for my doctorate of physical therapy, and I want to be able to put that on my resume if it I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna be
I appreciate the honesty, because obviously I didn't plan for professional branding. I planned this to last 6 months and then quit. So that's very smart on your part.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I should think a little. And I feel like Tits and Talks is like, it's very on brand with our personalities, but it says nothing about the content that we're putting out. So like maybe something that we can really brand easily. And also we want to start doing like community events, like having to do with health and bringing the community together. So yeah, that's kind of why we wanted to change it. I was like, so Natalie, let's sit down. But I think like what we were going, like we don't want to change who we are, because this is who we are. We just like to bullshit, and we're funny, and we're so hilarious. And
we're so funny.
So we didn't want to change who we were, but we wanted to have a name that was more on brand with what we wanted to do.
Well, you wanted to be marketable.
Exactly.
I get it. I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today. Completely, because not that I have buyer's remorse, because I love the name and other people love the name.
Yeah.
But every so often I'm like, where does this train stop? Because I feel like it stops somewhere. I'm not sure where. I'm just going to keep doing it till the fucking wheels fall off. But the remarketing strategy for you guys is very smart. I totally fucking get that.
Yeah.
And what I like about you, because you guys are starting to have guests on, and I've yet to listen to the one that came out today, and she's actually coming in here, I think, on like Wednesday.
Yay.
I think
She's awesome.
Yeah, like Wednesday or Tuesday. I have to look at my schedule. But what I like about, how do I put this? Like, have you guys always been interested in like talking to people? Because you guys are great together.
No.
Like, you guys have a great rapport. But when you have a guest in, it seems like very comfortable. It's a very nice flowing conversation. Your guests actually feel comfortable enough to ask you questions, which is you'll find that it's a fucking rarity.
Yeah.
Do
you know?
I think so. Like, I feel like with our guests, we have more of a conversation, and then I kind of like, when we get off topic, I'll start like asking actual questions.
Yeah, I mean, granted, all the guests we've had on have all been our friends, so we're starting with people that we are comfortable with.
That's how you need to start.
Because like we made a list after our very first like rebranded episode, and we were honestly just going through Instagram looking at like who should we have on?
Like, who are in my DMs? Yeah. Who do I talk to?
You thought this was a podcast, but this is the Catch a Predator DM edition.
Yes, exactly.
On July 11, 2017 at 4 a.m, you sent me.
Well, we were like, we wanted people on who, you know, because with it being Embody Your Health, we want like conversations obviously around health and wellness, but in a setting where it's fun to listen to, because I'm pretty sure we talked about this on one of our episodes, but I personally, I'm such a bad podcaster because I honestly don't like podcasts, but I have a podcast. Like
okay. Fair enough.
Like my brain can't.
You're like the Walter White of podcasting. You hate meth, but you sell it all the fucking time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I shouldn't say I hate it. It's just like I like entertaining podcasts, but when it comes to educational ones, if I'm not doing something while I'm listening to it, I don't remember anything.
You just don't like being lectured at.
It's probably that. So I was like, I don't want to do that where we just sit here and spit facts about, you know, whatever. So I wanted it in like an environment where like you want to listen and learn at the same time. So yeah, we were looking for people who we could have good conversations with, that we were comfortable with, especially because like Gabby does a lot better job of being social and talking to people. I'm not on the
like we balance each other out.
Like she's the one who's always like, all right, we'll do the intro, we'll ask the questions, and I'm mainly just there for like
moral support,
interjecting funny comments.
Yeah, moral I feel like support. Everything, like whenever
and
I make the video,
peanut gallery.
Exactly.
Hello.
I am Natalie. Like every time I make the videos, it's like Natalie has like the funniest comments. I'm like, where did she come up with this? You just come up with some funny stuff.
It's just how my brain's wired. But yeah, so we made a list. I think we have like 60 people on the list that we want to have on that like we went through,
including
Instagram. Yes, including you, by the way, which we'll get deets for that.
Yeah, let me know.
But we were like looking through, and we were really trying to just find guests that we were friends with first before reaching out to people that we don't really know. Also because like it's in my house too, and I don't want weird people coming to my house. So.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and and that's something, because when I started doing this, my girlfriend, it was like right in the middle of COVID. Like it had just popped off. This was October of 2020. So things are getting really hairy, and no one knows where the fuck this is going. And I was like, yeah, I'll start a podcast. I have nothing else to do. We're locked in the house. And I knew that I wanted to do the guest structure as well. Just because I didn't really think I had any like friends that would want to do a co-hosting type thing. And then I didn't even know how long this was going to fucking last. And something I didn't even think about was, at the time, like we weren't living together, but my ex, she was over a ton. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do a podcast where strangers come over and we're going to have a conversation. And she was like, that's not that safe. And I was like, why not? They're just coming over to hang out. And then it's like, oh, right. From my perspective, I'm just a fucking guy hanging out with people.
Yep.
From your perspective, as women, you're just inviting random motherfuckers over to your house to shoot a podcast.
Exactly.
What if you do invite an axe murderer?
Yeah. See, I'm not worried that while we were filming a podcast, they do anything. It's more like afterwards when they know where I live, and it's just like, hey, let's go.
Yeah. You just never know people.
So we
and
just going with people we know for safety and also comfortability.
Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of like a talent, learning how to interview people. Yeah, because it's like it's hard to have a natural conversation, but also like make it informative and know the right questions to ask, and it be like kind of natural, So it's like doing it with people that you actually know first. It kind of gives us that confidence, and then go into people that we haven't really met before.
Well, I feel like it's a challenge right now to have a conversation in general.
Yeah.
Like if you're just out in public, whether you're with your friends or like let's say you go to a bar and you're with 3 of your friends and you end up meeting 4 new people. It's just a challenge to have a conversation either way. There's so many distractions. Everyone it's like you're playing musical chairs of who's on their phone next. And it's just hard to stay focused. And that's with people in a comfortable setting. And that's why I love doing this, is I'm finally getting to the point where I'm comfortable, like not touching my phone for a long time, zoning in and focusing. Like that's why I love doing it so much, because this is the only time during the week I'm not on my phone. Right, whether it's just because of work or like doing the marketing for this, like all my scheduling and shit's on my phone. Like the Google Drives and the Sheets and the Excel and that all that nonsense is just on my phone.
Yeah.
So if I can sit for 1 to 3 hours and just, I'm not touching a fucking screen.
Yeah.
This feels so good. And it's like natural dopamine from other humans. It's fucking amazing.
And I think that's something too that's really valuable. It's like, I feel like with every guest that we've had on the podcast, like I've learned something new from someone. Like, and I feel like you can learn something from every single person, whether it's a med student or someone that owns their own business. And it all has to do with an all-encompassing health perspective, So that's something that I really enjoy. And I feel like it's very rare to have like a quality conversation with people nowadays, because we are so distracted and we don't know how to have that like true connection without a screen time or a screen between each other. So that's something that I've really enjoyed about having different guests and different perspectives on the podcast. And I feel like it just brings more value.
Yeah. And it's good to, being like a health podcast, it's good to have people on of different backgrounds with different definitions of what health is. Cause like, Gabby and I could sit here all day and biasly tell you our opinions on health, but, like what we may talk about doesn't necessarily like relate with mothers, because we're not mothers, we can't really speak to like their experience with health. And so like having our first guest on, who is a new mom, and having her talk about health and stuff, like she said, you have the opportunity to learn a lot and get different perspectives. And I feel like it kind of takes you out of your own like
bias.
Fixed mindset, honestly, because like you guys said, with today's day and age, we're just so encompassed in our own crap and our own social media that it's hard for us to like get out and actually open up our brain to other opinions and like conversations that don't fit within what we're used to seeing and having and doing, because everything's just curated to us. Like it's all about us. So
right.
that's been fun.
Yeah. And I think it opens the world, like our mission of there's not one definition of health. Like everyone has their own definition of health. Everyone has their own definition of success. So it's like, it's fun to put that out there. And there's not just like one right way to do something or one right way to exercise, one right way to eat. There's always just more perspectives, and it's all suitable to your own lifestyle.
Yeah.
Definition of success. I want to get to a lot of health stuff.
Yeah.
But the definition of success with your podcast, do you have one yet? Because it's understandable if you don't.
I don't know. Do we?
I think it's more like I want to leave, like I'm very like spiritual and kind of like holistic. So it's
Very
like,
golden retriever.
I'm learning these new terms and definitions, and one of them I've seen like circle in and out of my algorithm. It's like these new things in my algorithm, like a creepy dude at a bar. It's like you kind of see them off from the distance. They might pop their head in, and then before you know, they're in your face, and it's all you see. Mm-hmm. And one of them is golden retriever, like a boyfriend golden retriever, and I don't know what the fuck that means yet.
It's her.
Okay.
It's her. She is my boyfriend golden retriever. It's just like a very, like, if you think of a golden retriever, like they're very just goofy, lovable. Like everybody wants to pet. That sounds weird. Scratch that.
Everyone wants to pet them.
It's just like, I don't know. Like if you think of a golden retriever, it's like the happiest of the dogs, I feel, and it's just like the derpiest kind of.
So when you guys do a podcast, they give you a hug and say, "Hey, good to see you."
Yeah. They're like, "Who's a good girl?"
Who's a good? So that's the definition of me.
Yeah.
No, but I really want for like the goal that I see, and I think we have kind of different perspectives because we're such different personalities, but we mesh really well together, so we find a happy medium. But I want to lead with like intention and really just like impact people, and I feel like I don't really know where that's going to go, because even with life right now, I would never think that I would be in this moment in my life. So it's kind of hard to set a specific vision, but it's more so like I know that I want to impact people's lives and bring the community together, show people what health is, and there's not like one definition of health. And
in what moment specifically? Do you like, you never thought you would find yourself here? What do you mean by like in this moment?
Like
in your house.
Yeah, in your house right now.
That's fair.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I think just even the people that I have in my life right now, or like the different opportunities that have presented in my life, I would never think that I would be here. Like I have like a general goal. Like I always knew I wanted to be a physical therapist, and I applied and I got to where I am right now. But there's like certain opportunities in my life that have presented itself, and I didn't plan for that. So I think life is so unpredictable, and you can't really set like a set plan, because I think that's when you get like disappointed, because you're like, oh, I had this specific plan and it's not exactly what I set out to be, and now you're disappointed. Whereas like if you kind of just go with the flow of life and have a general intention and purpose of what you want to do in your life, then you just go with it.
Like I never thought I'd be in nutrition.
Yeah.
But here I am. So that's, yeah.
I know. I feel like everything like just kind of trickled down for you, because you're like, oh, I own my own business now. I'm like, what?
Surprise.
Yeah.
I just signed the paperwork. Ta-da.
Yeah.
And that's badass, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
I like have an LLC, but I just use it for tax purposes one tax season.
Yeah.
Just to write all this shit off.
Smart.
And then I was like, okay, well, now I have a production company of one podcast whose host will not be named, right?
Yeah. And what's like your purpose with your podcast, and where do you see yourself going?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I got to be dead honest. I'm still shocked I'm doing it. Like every week on Saturdays and Sundays when I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm like, oh fuck, I have 4 like next week, right? I have 4 podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. And the week after that I have 3. And the week after that I think I have like 2 or 3, and it's going until like towards the end of November. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what the fuck? I remember 2 years ago, I was struggling to get, one a week. Because I remember, and I was going to say this a little earlier, you guys are doing it the absolute right way. You're starting out with people you know, like guest-wise, right? And that's the perfect way to do it. Like I had a guy get in contact with me. I went on his podcast a while back, and he was asking me like, because he's just starting, like he's in the infancy of it. I think he's under for like maybe a month and a half, and he was like, well, like how do I get into marketing, and Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm like, well, first of all, look at my numbers, dude. I don't know shit about marketing. So sorry. Like, the only numbers I get are off of collaborations. So thanks.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, stay away from that. Like, don't. And he was asking me, how do I get these bigger guests in Albuquerque? How do I talk to them? I'm like, stay away from that. Don't fucking worry about it. Go hang out with people you like. And I did the exact same thing you guys are doing. I went to my Instagram following page, and I reloaded it a couple of times because I don't even know who the fuck I talk to outside of my 3 friends on there that I send like fucked up memes to all day.
Yeah.
Right. So I just went through my page like, okay, they would be cool. They would be cool. They would be cool. They would be cool. And then I just started whittling down like what is cool, and then what works. And I really didn't learn that up until like maybe a year and a half ago. Like this is absolutely no disrespect to anyone that I've had on, but I've had a couple of guests on that I thought would be really sick, and they're awesome people. But something just changed when everything hit record, and it's like, we just had a great 20-minute conversation. Pod goes for about an hour and a half. Turn off the cameras, and then we have a great 30-minute conversation afterwards. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, there's some psychology of like when we're being recorded, or it's like just something about being recorded. I feel like people are like, oh my God.
Yeah, it might also be the fear of just like saying something stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like things that people won't agree with, or.
And see, whatever that defense mechanism is, I don't have it.
Same.
And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because I mean, I think in the first 8 or 9 episodes, that was my original plan, was like, I'm going to find, like you guys, I'm going to find 10 people that I know. Now, out of these 10 people that I know, how many of them want to sit in front of a camera and talk bullshit for however long?
Yeah.
And I think on like episode 9, when I have no viewers now, but back then it was like my grandma, right?
I love it.
Yeah. And no, she stopped watching after episode 12. She was like, Noah, you're too vulgar. I love you, but you need to stop with the fucks. I'm like, okay, you just said fuck, but okay, I'll stop. Thanks, grandma. Anyway, I got a real lovely DM about some views I have on transgenders. Like, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. You're just a bigot piece of shit, you fucking Trumper. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't like Trump, first of all, but thanks. And I just extended an olive branch because I know who this person was. It wasn't some random on the internet. I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't mind you coming over. Send him my address. I was like, come over, let's hang out, let's talk. On or off camera, I don't care. I at that point, I was like, the people that go out of their way to send you messages or leave comments like that, I want to know, like, what's going on, right? Like, why did you feel so compelled? Let's have a conversation. Never heard from them. Like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a few more messages like that, and I've gotten a few interesting comments on my shit, but it's like, like I said, I'm just going to do this till the fucking wheels fall off.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what you sign up for when you have social media. There's always going to be someone that has a different opinion than you, and that's okay. Like, everyone has different outlooks on life and different perspectives, so it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. But that's kind of what you sign up for whenever you put yourself out there.
That's what makes it fun. Honestly, that's what makes it fun, especially if, and I hope you guys run into this sooner rather than later, when you have a guest on your podcast that has such a different point of view than you, but they're willing to explain it. Because there's a part of you, I'll be honest, at least for me, there's a part of me that's like, fuck, you're dumb. Like, you are brainwashed. But it's like, how did they get to that point of believing something is so true? Like, I had a conversation with somebody about, and we actually had to cut it out of the episode. But we had a conversation about transgenders in women's sports. And we narrowed it down specifically to MMA. I'm not a fighter. I used to be in a boxing club in college, right? I am not a fucking fighter, right?
Yeah.
But even I know that biological men should not be allowed to beat the shit out of women. That's just, I think that makes sense. And they advocated on behalf of that for like 15, 20 minutes. Like, well, and then not on the fact of the biological man, on the fact of, I think the woman could do okay. Like, women are as strong as men when it comes to combat. So I'm like, dude, like, I am all for feminism. I'm all for equal everything. But do we need to watch the Fallon Fox footage? Like, have you seen her fight from like 2012, 2013? That's where a lot of it exploded. And that's where Rogan got a lot of heat, because he was like, that's fucking stupid. This person, I forget what their their like birth name was, 33 years, biological man, professional fighter, fighting since they were 12 years old. And they were in mixed martial arts when you could do steroids. So they were like extra testosterone. And then they're like, you know what? I'm going to become a girl now. They do the switch, starts finding women and brutalizes them. Like like demolishes. I'm like, and I showed him after the pod, I was like on my phone, I was like, dude, do you think this is okay? And he was like, well, I mean, if there's just better trained female fighters, I think they'd be able to. I'm like, okay, this is okay. Okay, we're done. I think we're done here. Okay.
Yeah.
And I love the guy to death. But it's like when you have conversations like that where, because there are things that I can compromise on, and I'm not married to my ideas, right? I want to be proven wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I would hate to be if I'm the smartest guy in the room, that's not a good room to be in, right? As a mental asylum. But you know what I mean? Like, but on the other hand, it's like how there are some ideas that I found like that people are so ingrained in. And it's like, how did we get to this point of lunacy? Mm-hmm. And I hope you guys find something like that on your podcast because it's so much fucking fun. It's so much because then it's like you're locked in. Like you're doing. They have every right to like. For everyone listening, I didn't want to give the impression that like I locked the doors and like barricaded us in the podcast studio. But like people have the ability to up and leave, but they're probably not going to. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just being able to actually work out those ideas and have this weird like verbal like dance. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah.
And then when you have your best friends on, who we have someone like Sarah on, you just get to talk about things you enjoy and talk shit for an hour. Mm-hmm. It's so much fucking fun. It's the shit. Why? Obviously, you guys both have a huge background in health. Were there any topics about health that you wanted to really pinpoint first when you started doing your podcast that you want to really highlight in the beginning?
I think that we were really trying to learn in the beginning of like how to do an educational podcast because one, we wanted to make it fun to talk about and like kind of just make it conversational, but there wasn't really one topic. We kind of like made a list of what encompasses health. Like we did episodes on sleep and the importance of like mental health and like all the different aspects of health. I said mental health and she said...
I was laughing at the sleep because this whole week I've maybe gotten like 4 hours of sleep every night. So it's been one of those weeks where I'm not listening to my own advice.
Yeah, we always do that. Everyone has their downfalls on health, so it's fine. But we're here to advocate and
do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah. No, but I think that it was kind of just a learning process because I think that goes with anything. When you start something new, you don't know what you don't know. You know, so it's like you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
So like we were trying to learn how to do the podcast, and then 2, we were trying to make it like actual informative and entertaining, and it's really hard, and it's a lot of like learning humps.
Yeah, we did a lot of learning humps.
We did a lot of learning humps together, but we got through it.
Yeah, because it was like if you listen back to like our few of the very first episodes, like you can tell we're reading information that we like prepped.
Hey, there is nothing wrong with that.
I think
No, I disagree. So, and what I'll say though is Andrew Huberman. He's got one of my favorite health podcasts. Period.
Yeah, I actually do like his.
I fucking love that guy. Mm-hmm. It's also fun to watch him get clowned on. I'm like 2 bears, 1 cave. But he has his own podcast, and the shit that he talks about, he's just reading from documents that he has, or he's reading from his laptop prepared notes. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it's informative and it's good information, there is absolutely no. I would actually advise against winging it when it comes to health issues. And like if you want to see where winging it goes bad, click any episode that I have and just skip to where I'm speaking. It's like, oh, maybe don't do what he does.
Well, it's more like in the aspect of we didn't want to be lecturing people. So like we would do, one of the main reasons why we switched to guest-based podcast is because the preparation it took, because like we'd come up with a topic, like our first few episodes was a whole series on how to build like your perfect program for your body and your needs and stuff. And so like we would do a bunch of research leading up to that episode to kind of make sure what like we were talking about was correct and stuff, because that's a really important thing. Like you said, we don't want to just be giving out like bullshit advice and be like every other influencer that's on social media.
Yeah.
All the fake natties. I love them.
I want to like, that's something that I want to just like slap so many people, because I working with women a lot of times are like, oh, it's on TikTok today. I saw it. I'm like, what have we talked about? don't believe things on TikTok.
What blows my fucking mind, and look, obviously they are marketing geniuses and they have built a brand that has so much money and power and influence that I can't even fathom it. But the fucking Kardashians. If I could like enlarge my hands and just grip all of their necks at once and just shake, I would. Because what kills me is like, okay, you got famous off a sex tape, you got OJ off the trial, okay, whatever, fine, great family, you know what you're doing. But for some reason, what pissed me off the most was one of those idiots. I forget which one. I think it was like the Courtney one.
The Courtney one.
She made this video, or like she was like accidentally filmed, or like a candid video of her or whatever, saying, I just hate how women feel objectified on the internet, and I hate the beauty standards. And it's like, bitch, you and your family set these unrealistic beauty standards for women for the last 20 fucking years. What I love looking at are the before and after pictures of that entire family. They don't look like the same people. It's like they got really high quality Play-Doh and reconstructed their whole fucking face. Am I wrong?
No. I feel really like I have mixed opinions on it, just because I feel like when you're born into fame, like it's really hard. That's what they knew their whole life, you know? Right. So it's like you think of the psychology of it, and I feel like they were born into like this certain mold and they never really got to shape who they were. It's like the media kind of shaped who they were for them. And I don't think they know the difference, you know? So it's like they were born into that. It's not their fault. But then again, it's like...
So I agree.
Yeah.
If they were all teenagers right now, but they're all well into their 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
And it's really? Like, yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the youngest one's like maybe in her mid-20s. I forget her name.
I don't keep up with the Kardashians.
But again, they just flutter in and out of my algorithm between all the 9/11 jokes.
Don't
and
lie, you love the
bodybuilding.
Kardashians.
No,
you're like low key. Look, you have keeping up with the Kardashians.
It's one of my love to hates for sure.
Yeah.
And because it's just fucking crazy to me. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, they're like in their 30s. Right, and the mom is like in her 60s. Mm-hmm. I really started paying attention to that family after the whole Bruce Jenner incident. Mm-hmm. Like when that went down, and then when Kanye went crazy, like it's like that family of women is turning these powerful men into psychos. And yeah. But my point is like they at some point, when do you become your own sentient human being, mm-hmm. right? When do you think for yourself, despite all the money, despite all the fame? Like, obviously, it fucks with people. You look at child stars,
right?
People like Lindsay Lohan and Miley Cyrus,
Britney Spears,
Britney
mm-hmm.
Spears, Paris Hilton, and then you start to pull back the curtain a little bit. You find out about all the conservatorships and shit like that, mm-hmm. right? So obviously, that level of fame is going to damage somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
But at some point, you need to become your own human being and get a little bit of self-awareness mm-hmm. and a little bit of clarity. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so when I just see these bullshit videos about, I don't know why women, like the average woman feels like this. And it's like, you are the reason. You know those pictures you take of yourself and you send them to your fucking PR people and they spend 18 hours editing a bikini shot? Mm-hmm. That's why. And then what's fucking, this is the last thing I'll say about it. I can talk for fucking, I hate these people. And then the real pictures of them come out and they look like stomped Uggs. Like the boots.
Stop.
They look like the sweatpants of people in real life. They're clumpy, they're pudgy, the fucking plastic surgery's actively falling out of their ass cheek. It's like, you don't even look like a human, let alone a real woman. You look like a fucking alien that crash landed here. Like, what the fuck happened?
Maybe they are.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really would not be surprised. So what is, for you guys, what is your definition of health? What does health look like for you guys?
The Kardashians.
I'd hope not.
I'm actually really offended right now because the Kardashians is actually what I look up to.
We started this podcast to make money so we can get plastic surgery.
Oh, no, don't.
To look like the Kardashians.
Christ, please don't.
I'm just kidding.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go? Okay.
I need to think about my answer.
Okay.
I'm sure you respect. I don't know. I can't speak for them. I'm sure your respective boyfriend and husband, right?
Yes.
Congratulations on getting married recently. Would not be thrilled if you got tens of thousands of dollars. He wakes up one day. That's not who I married.
Surprise.
She went to Build a Bitch workshop and was completely different. What the fuck happened?
Let's see. What's my definition of health? I feel like it's overall just happiness and.
Cute.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, especially with media and women specifically, like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves because of what we see on the internet and because of plastic surgery and because of unrealistic expectations. Like it's really hard to not put these expectations on yourself. And I feel like I just want to be happy and I want to care about the things that actually matter in life, like the connections that I have and like the people that are in my life. Like that's what that's oh, we're tickling each other under that's what actually matters. And like laughing and having fun and not taking life so seriously. Like I feel like that's what truly matters. And then to like actually taking care of your body. I feel like with today's day and age around health, like there's so much misinformation around what health is and how nutrition is and how complicated. It's really not complicated. Like listen to your body and your body will give you the cues that you need. Like we're so out of tune with our body. I'm getting very passionate about this because it's like
go off, sister.
Everyone's just out of tune with their body and your body tells you when it's hungry. Your body tells you when a specific food isn't good for you. You'll get bloated. You'll break out. And like people just aren't aware of these specific cues that your body's trying to tell you. And it just puts us so out of tune with what our body does for us, you know? So I feel like I want to listen to my body. I want to be happy and healthy and just have a good time. I'm just here for fun.
How much of this mindset did you find yourself in? Because you did a bodybuilding competition, right?
Yeah.
How much of this mindset was post-show?
A lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I got into competing at a very young age where I just did it for fun, honestly. Like I got into powerlifting first and then I was like, okay, maybe I'll do a bodybuilding show because the coach that I was working with at that time, a lot of his clients were doing bodybuilding shows. So I was like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. And these girls look like, oh, I want to look like that, you know? So it's all based on look. But I feel like I was so young, so it kind of like brainwashed my mind into thinking that I needed to fit a specific body fat percentage in order to be deemed healthy or deemed fit. And I feel like that became the definition of who I was because everyone that knew me from Instagram, they're like, oh, Gabby, the bodybuilder, the health girl. And I feel like I needed to fit a specific definition. And it kind of messed with my mind at such a young age because if I ate a donut, for example, someone would be like, oh, why are you eating that? And then it kind of just like went down this hole of like getting body dysmorphia and then disordered eating and feeling bad about what I ate and equating certain foods to good and bad, which taught me a lot. And I wish that I didn't have to go through that to like be where I am right now, but it did teach me a lot to where I am at right now and like that food isn't good or bad. And yeah, I don't know.
So that's a term, body dysmorphia is a term that's kind of thrown around a lot recently. And it's a lot of words that used to have meaning have started to lose them, you know, as time goes on. I think body dysmorphia is one of those terms. I'm not going to ask what is body dysmorphia, is kind of self-explanatory, but for you, what did that look like when you were experiencing that?
Yeah, I felt like, even looking back at pictures now, like I would look at a picture and I was so lean and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm just a fat piece of shit. Like, like, I'm like, oh my God, I don't look good. Like I can't post this or whatever it was. And I still go through, I'm not at that extent, but I still go through, I feel like body dysmorphia is like a spectrum where everyone has a little bit of it. Everyone doesn't. And if you do feel great about your body all the time, like that's amazing. But I feel like everyone has certain insecurities about their body. But for me at the time, it was more so like I would look in the mirror and it would only be focused on what's wrong with my body. And oh my God, like my little pouch that protects my uterus. Like, oh my God, I wish I didn't have fat here, or like my arms. And it's like, I don't know. I just didn't think very highly of myself back then because I wanted to be a specific body fat percentage. And I feel like the definition of who I was when I did do bodybuilding, that was who I defined myself was. And I feel if I didn't look like that, like I wasn't meeting the expectations that people had put on me, you know? So it messed with my brain. And now I'm very happy. Now I don't equate who I am based on a certain definition of Instagram or a certain body fat percentage. But
what got you into bodybuilding?
It was more so, I don't even know. I think it was more so like who I surrounded myself with and the gym that I was going at. I was going to Designer Bodies at the time, and that's a very
That's
a very like bodybuilding. I like the gym itself.
Yeah.
Like they have a lot of great equipment.
Is that here in Albuquerque?
Oh, you've never been there?
I've never heard of the place.
Oh,
yeah.
Man,
it's a very bodybuilding based gym, and
it's called Designer Body.
Yeah, Designer Bodies. And the coach that I was working with over there, he mainly all of his clients were, and he's a great coach. Like he was awesome and he taught me a lot, but I was just so young that I didn't know. And that's
how old were you?
I was 17, 16,
17.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I got into it at a really young age, and then that became my definition of health rather than learning like how to listen to my body and how to eat correctly, and that I didn't need to be a certain percentage of body fat. But I think what got me into it was just being around the setting. I think you are who you surround yourself with. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it.
And then she texted me and she's like, do you want to do it with me?
Yeah. So we did our first bodybuilding.
Oh, you did one too?
I've done two.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I did one here and one in Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did our first bodybuilding.
There's like a lot
together.
of desperation in your eyes right now, and a lot of trauma that's like getting reawoken.
Oh yeah.
Oh geez.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So she gets you, she pulls you into the circus.
So I think, before she had texted me, we were in freshmen in college. Yeah, we were freshmen in college.
Yes.
Yeah, because that was my really bad year. And I was having a really bad time. I'm pretty sure I was an alcoholic as a freshman in college because I had I had lost someone really important to me, and then my like first love and boyfriend like dumped me the day of his funeral, and I was like a mess.
He was a piece of shit.
Yeah. And so I was in a really bad place.
Well, I'm just thinking back to my freshman year of college, I guess at that point I was a junior, and that was my first real big breakup. No, it was freshman year of college. Time flies. My brain is damaged, dude. Due
Same.
to
Join the club.
substances we talked about before the podcast. My engagement got ended a week after my birthday.
Oh my goodness.
But that's so much worse.
No,
That's
it's
so
not.
much worse.
They're both bad in their own ways.
They're both bad.
They're both bad in their own ways, but I was living not at home. I was at Lobo Village my first 2 years
what a place. What a place.
My first 2 years of college, and I didn't know how to deal with all the feelings that I had, so I turned to alcohol and other things, and I was in a very bad place mentally. And she we were still pretty close, but just because she didn't live on campus and we had different schedules, and I was with a group of friends that she didn't really want to be with, we didn't really see each other as much. And granted, the group of friends that I had, I think they were trying their best to support me, but we were all 17, 18. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to deal with that stuff. So whenever I'd be like, hey, it's Tuesday morning after class, let's go back to Lobo Village and drink, they're like, okay, sure. If that's, what will help you feel better, let's go do it, I guess. But she had reached out and, she was like, hey, essentially, she's like, I can tell you're going down a really dark hole. Why don't we try and put some of that emotion into something better? And so I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it with you. I had a different coach though. And my main incentive for doing the first show was I'm going to get revenge body. I was so mad about that whole situation. I was like, I'm going to make him regret ever dumping me. And in my mind, I was like, the way by doing that is getting really skinny.
Right.
So yeah, it was really nice having her through that. And I do think even though that process really fucked me up mentally, and gave me an eating disorder and a lot of bad problems, that it got me out of one bad headspace and put me in a different bad headspace.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the darker side of the shit.
I just got my makeup on you. Oh my god. My eyebrow came off. I'm sorry. Is that still?
Jesus Christ.
I put vitamin E oil on my face, and it's just really oily. So
You put what?
vitamin E oil.
Why?
Yeah.
Because it's good for your skin.
Okay.
Soap and water. That's I know nothing different. But no, because there's because I should have said this out on the outset. Bodybuilding is my favorite sport. But I also recognize the really dark parts of it, and stuff like obviously body dysmorphia, eating disorders, shit like that, and body dysmorphia exactly. It is a spectrum, right? You can go from okay, I can't get skinny enough, to a lot, and I know some women, not as many as men, obviously, but some women do struggle with the I can't get big enough. Mm-hmm. Dudes struggle with that, where it's like I can't. I mean, look at guys like fucking like Marcus Rule, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, even guys today like a Big Ramy, the dude out of Israel. Like these guys obviously have fucking body dysmorphia, and there's another dude. His nickname is literally the fucking animal. I forget what his name is. He's a bodybuilder now. He's like 28, and the dude, his varicose veins are they look like silly string. Like it's horrific, and it's all he's got varicose veins all over, but especially like in his calves. They look like they're about a half an inch thick. It is fucking terrifying. Whenever it comes, probably like 3:00 in the morning when I can't sleep. If it comes to me, I'll send you guys a picture of him because the guy is goddamn ridiculous, right? But it's like, okay, well, that's another version of the body dysmorphia. For female competitors, I know there's a lot of different classes, and I don't know all of them. Where did you guys compete?
We did figure for our first one, which is like the V-back swimsuit. It's like it's a step above bikini in the aspect of like muscle mass. Like what they look for in figure is like really big lats, big upper body, small waist, big legs. Whereas bikini, it's just kind of like
all around, just like more like a softer look.
I was gonna say bikini. I feel like is more of the like how lean can you get?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and figure was kind of more. It's like the lat spread, the lat flare posing, that type of stuff. Okay. And so like I think you decided that we were doing figure, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm just along for the ride. Yeah. And so I told my coach that, and in college, like I played sports all throughout high school, and then played some sports in college, not like collegiately, but just on like recreational teams. And so I probably was like 125 pounds freshman year of college, and he was like, all right, well, if you want to do figure, you're pretty small, like we're going to do a bulking phase and try and get you up to like 138. And I was like, okay.
Right.
We only got to like I think 135, and then he cut me down to, I think my stage weight was like 107.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah, and then like 3 months later, I did my second show.
Fucking Christ. So you stepped on stage at 105?
Yeah.
And how tall?
I'm 5 feet.
Fuck.
Which actually, according to BMI charts, that's my ideal weight to be healthy.
Go fuck yourself. No, it is not.
No, it is. According to BMI, I'm overweight right now.
So
it's stupid.
And we can get into this later if you'd like, but I don't like saying I'm a big conspiracy person, but like there's so fucking many of them. How can you not be? And the term "follow the money," right? With whoever sets the standard for BMI and like what's a healthy weight and a healthy whatever for your height and your age and your gender. It's always fun looking at, okay, what company set that? Mm-hmm. Okay, who funds those companies? Okay, who funds those funders? And where did all this come from? And it always, like, for the longest time, it would always go back to fucking Monsanto. I'm assuming you guys know the company Monsanto. Mm-hmm. For anyone listening who doesn't know what that is, basically they're a huge company that paid off doctors back in the 70s to say that fat is the issue and not sugar, and that sugar is actually really good for you. And the long story short of this tinfoil hat rant is that it all flew into high fructose corn syrup being in every fucking product we have. Mm-hmm. And it's just always fun looking into that shit because I think people have a distorted idea of what, like my reaction to that weight is because I know what that looks like. Like I have other like female friends that have done bodybuilding. I'm like, fuck, like that's unhealthy as shit. I think people have an uneducated, because I don't like saying ignorant because it almost sounds like a negative thing, but people have an uneducated view of like what true body weight looks like on people, especially when it depends on their height, and that is fucking unhealthy.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I was very small. You know what's funny is like kind of going into like the body dysmorphia thing. I remember like there are 2 specific videos that I have from like peak week that I keep in my phone, and anytime I'm in like a shitty mind space about my body, I reflect on that. Cause like there's this video, it's also interesting cause like when we were doing it was cool to see how our bodies lost weight. Cause obviously, you know, we're not the same person. So it's cool to see like where she really leaned out and where I really leaned out, and like where her specialty was and where mine was. And mine are my obliques and hers were more like her actual like 6-pack washboard abs. And but like these videos I have, it's like I'm doing a side twist and I literally have no waist at all. It's just all oblique. And I remember looking at that one video and being like, I can't post this. I look too fat. If I post this, people aren't going to think that I'm taking my prep seriously. So I never posted those 2 videos. And I reflect back on it now. I'm like, you've come such a long way, Natalie. Good job.
I fucking feel that.
But it was a good experience. I feel like people probably think that we hate bodybuilding because we shit on it so much because like our own personal experiences were bad. But, you know,
not everything is good for everyone.
Yeah. You know, and I think we learned so much through them. And like her doing the first show together was really fun to like have someone that got it. Because at the time, you know, my friends, they didn't really get it. Like my parents did a really good job of trying to get it. But I think for them, until they actually like saw me on the stage and saw like how happy I was, or, you know, whatever, or, you know, perceived happiness, that they're like, oh, okay, I get why you're doing it, whatever.
Well, from the outside in, it's why the fuck are you eating the same thing over and over again? Who gives a shit if you have a 6-pack? Who gives a shit if you have like this type of vascularity, or if you can do this or that and the other? Like, who gives a fuck? Why are you trying to like pose so much for these random people? You don't know who the fuck they are. And I was actually having this conversation with Sarah. There's a lot of brainwashing that happens, but there's a bit of brainwashing you got to accept, right? Because you're going into such of a weird headspace that it is unnatural, right, for most people. But then the more positive side of that is like, well, what is not obviously when you're doing like 1,100, 900 calories a day, that's not healthy. But the happy medium where like, I remember for me, like the happiest I was during prep was like maybe obviously the starting week until like week 5, week 6, where I'm eating anywhere between 25 to 2,200 calories a day, a lot of protein. I fucking hate vegetables, but some vegetables here and there, like 1.5 gallons of water a day, exercising a ton. And I felt really fucking good. It's like, that's actually a really good lifestyle to live. Like, that's where I operate. Like, I know where my body operates, and that's awesome. Then you start cutting down to like, oh, 1,900. That's not bad. 1,500. Getting a little scary. 1,100 calories. I feel like SpongeBob when he's in Sandy's dome.
I need it.
Sandy! And I'm like, fuck. But then, it's like you have those videos on your phone. I have a video of myself because I would bounce between Liberty and Legion to train at, and there's a video that I have of myself. I've always been a skinny kid, but I never had abs. And then when I started drinking a lot and eating a lot of enchiladas, I definitely didn't have abs, right? But then I remember looking at myself like, fuck, those are abs. But then,
Those are abs.
yeah. But then I think back to my mindset where I was filming that video. And I'm squeezing so hard trying to get all of my abs to show and being angry about it. Because I dropped from I started out at 189, stepped onto stage at 152.
Dang.
Yeah, 52, 51, around there. And I remember just being like, because we were talking about like where you leaned out, where your good points were. I could fucking not lose bit like right there, like right above the waist. It just was not going anywhere. And even my one of my best friends was coaching me, and he was like, dude, listen, you're gonna do a lot of leg lifts and you do a lot of lower ab shit, try to build muscle there, because that ab is just not going, or the fat is just not fucking going anywhere, because I was just holding it. And I think back to when I was filming that video, I was like, fuck, like I was actually angry about that shit. You know what I mean? And it's not like, a bit of it is really like not healthy. And I feel like, again, public perception of all of that is, you look at somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I guess today, Chris Bumstead, right? Everyone sees these guys, and it's like when they're on stage, like, oh, they look so healthy. And it's like, no,
they're not.
No, they look like they look like in a walking anatomy class. Like they look fucking awesome. Like I love Bumstead. That dude's the shit. I'm one of those gym bros. Like I fucking love that guy.
Yeah.
But then I also recognize that the moment he steps off stage, his girlfriend and his best friends are pretty much carrying him to his chair and then slowly rehydrating him to get him back to where he needs to be. Because I mean, how many videos have come out recently of bodybuilders passing out on stage? Men and women, right? They pass out on stage, or they die of congestive heart failure because all the gear they're taking and shit like that. Did you guys do a natural or an untested show?
We did natural. We did. What was the name of the show that we did?
Muscle Mania.
Okay.
Yeah, we did Muscle Mania. It's funny. We were the only two that competed in our category.
We like showed up and
we're like, we did all this just to go against each other.
And we're like, look at each other. We're like, and 2-figure girls. And we're all,
hello. My coach. So my first coach for that show, he had me do, he gave me 2 types of pills. Do you remember didn't you go with me to his apartment to get
to get the drugs?
It was like, it wasn't necessary.
Clenbuterol.
Yeah, clenbuterol. So we did clenbuterol.
I was really hoping you were going to say Anavar.
We did. We just did Tren.
Yeah. we did Tren.
She was shooting it in my butt.
I pulled down my pants a little bit. I prepared my cheek and poke.
We need to talk about that.
We will, yeah. And then the week before, he gave me diuretic pills.
Oh, fuck.
Or 2 weeks before.
How was that?
And he also made me take caffeine. Well, I shouldn't say he made me. I made the choice, but he advised it. Caffeine pills, too. Gave me a lot of those.
What was the purpose of the caffeine pills?
Because apparently they're like, well, one, so caffeine can be an appetite suppressant, but granted, that's more when it's in like actual liquid form.
Right.
The caffeine pills itself, there's a theory that caffeine can oxidize fat faster. But the thing is like, yeah, it may oxidize the fat and break it down. I might not be using the right words.
Oh, wait. I think we were talking about this at one point.
Maybe. And
it
like breaks it down or whatever. But it's like, if you don't actually go and exercise afterwards, then the fat just gets restored. It gets like so there's some research supporting that caffeine can be used as like a fat burner assistant. But so he would have me do that.
Well, that's why I guess that makes a lot of sense why a lot of like fat burning supplements are basically just caffeine pills with some extra like witchcraft inside of it. You know what I mean?
Stuff sprinkled in.
Yeah.
A little bit of Coke sprinkled in.
A little bit of a drug. There you go.
But and then I don't think I did any drugs for my second one. I don't know. That second show was such a my coach, I switched to a different coach. And I ended up in the urgent care against my will because of that coach. And I'm such a fucking idiot. So like, it is my fault. I know better. I had technology. I had multiple people telling me that what I was doing was going to end me up in urgent care. But I was like, you don't know anything. I'm losing weight. Leave me alone. Like I said, mental health, not great. But he had me doing... like Monday through Friday, I'd have 4 meals a day, and it would be 5 ounces of salmon. And that was it. And then on the weekends, we would carb cycle me like 30 grams of rice and some vegetables for fiber and digestion.
Wait. Okay.
I ate nothing but tilapia and salmon my whole prep with no carbs. It was just all protein.
And so explain to people why that's a bad idea to only eat protein.
Well, because
because I bring this up too because the carnivore diet is a big thing now. Yeah. And I actually tried it. I couldn't stick with it because I'm a fat fuck and I love pasta and hamburgers so fucking much. Yeah. Like one of the main reasons I can't wait to move out of this part of town is because if I drive that way, there's Burgers and More. If I drive that way, there's Bob's. And it's the same thing, but 2 different families, and I fucking love both of them.
Have you tried
so
Fat
equally.
Stacks?
I will now.
Dude, you
Holy
need to
cow.
try Fat Stacks. It's so fucking good. It's so good. And it's dangerous because, like, I live off of, like, Central and Lomas area. And
Okay.
so it's right by Tractor Brewing.
yeah.
Oh, my God. I think the first time that we
Oh,
had
I've
it-
seen that place.
Yeah, I think within, like, a month or since we found it, like, 2 months ago, I've had it probably, like, 8 times now.
Fuck,
It's
yeah.
so good. But the reason why that's bad is, so, I mean, the carnivore diet has its own benefits to an extent. But, like, when you're eating the exact same fish every single day, you're not getting a variety of nutrients. You're just getting what nutrients the fish has.
Okay.
Not having carbs at all is just, I mean, our body's preferred method of energy is glucose, which is the breakdown of carbohydrates. Like, our brain technically should have about 120 grams of glucose a day to just function properly. Muscle recovery, it needs carbohydrates to help with that and stuff. And so not having carbs, granted, it makes a lot of water weight disappear, but it's just, I mean, your quality of life and your functioning when you don't have carbs to think clearly and you don't have other nutrients and things going on and you're not eating like anything to help digest the protein, because protein can be hard on our digestive system and cause like constipation and stuff. And so if you're not having fiber from vegetables or, other nutrients, it's just, you're fucking up everything in your body.
Right.
To an extent. I mean, granted, like, you can only build so much protein when all you're giving, or I'm sorry, you can only build so much muscle when all you're giving your body is protein. Like, people don't realize that there's other macronutrients responsible for muscle protein synthesis. Like, yes, it is protein to an extent, but you need carbohydrates in the recovery of the muscles too in order to build. But then if you're only consuming calories from protein, that means that the protein that you're intaking now, instead of it just going straight to your muscles to build new muscles and, repair them and stuff, now your body's working extra hard to convert the protein into energy, because you can use protein for energy. It's an inefficient system compared to carbohydrates or even fat. And so then, like, your body's working extra hard, and instead of like that 50 grams of, tilapia going towards building muscles, now probably 45 grams of it is going towards just keeping me alive the best that it can, because that's the only thing I was giving my body. Mm-hmm. And so, granted, I didn't know to that extent when I was doing it. Like, I'd gone to college for nutrition for a little while. And so I knew, like, in my gut that what I was doing was not good, but I was seeing such good results. So I was like, well, it's working. Like, fuck you guys. It's just temporary. Like, stop telling me to quit.
And so at one point, did it send you to the ER? Like, so how far into this were you doing it? Because what's curious about that is you hear about people that do stuff like the carnivore diet, and yes, they are cycling through different forms of protein and different forms of meat and shit like that. I think the most famous example of it is Jordan Peterson and his daughter. They had it sounds like some of the worst immunocompromised type diseases you could fucking get. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard his daughter's story, but it's obviously, like, she tells it way better than I could ever retort it, but it's fucking horrific. Like, rashes all over her body, severe pain, arthritis like no other at the age of like 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then she switched with her father because he had a big immuno issue as well, very sick. Switches to the carnivore diet where it's just meat and salt. Like, she went on what's the fucking guy's name? Piers Morgan. Mm-hmm. She went on Piers Morgan, and he's like asking like,
I've seen that.
Yeah, like, what did you eat for breakfast? And she goes, fucking steak. Mm-hmm. What about lunch? Ribeye steak. Dinner? Steak. Yeah, fucking ribeye steak. What'd you have with it? Salt, bitch. Like, like, you know what I mean? So hearing like, and I think that's kind of tie this back to what you said in the beginning with there's different versions of health. For them,
it works well.
All protein and salt and water is making a world of difference.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I guess for you,
it didn't.
It almost fucking killed you.
Well, I feel like that's a bit exaggerated.
Well, essentially So, how long were you doing it for? And then when did it send you to the ER?
I don't really
I'm just going to
remember.
check the cameras and shit.
Yeah,
So
I don't really remember like how long I was into it. Because when we first started, I wasn't only on fish. Like, he had me eating other things. And then at some point we switched into that. But the thing that was also hard too is like with eating the fish that I was like allowed to eat, I also was doing 2 strength training exercises throughout the day, or like training sessions. So like I'd have like my morning strength session and my afternoon strength session. And then I'd also have to do an hour of cardio every single day. And so I don't really remember how long I was into it, but it was like, actually Gabby was competing at a powerlifting event for nationals in San Diego. And so was our other friend Ronnie, and I was going with them to go, you know, support, be their cheerleader, stuff like that. And a week before we were supposed to leave, I couldn't get out of bed because I was just so sick. Like I was throwing up a lot. I couldn't keep any food down. I had really bad like shakes.
Sounds like mercury poisoning.
It probably was. I don't know. Because so this is just, you're going to see how fucked up my brain is. So I'm like throwing up. I'm not leaving. I literally stayed in bed for 1 full week. And I had told like my coach had asked me, because we would do like check-ins and stuff. And I was so scared of disappointing this man who shouldn't have meant anything to me that I never told him anything that was going on. Because I was like, I don't want to be a client that he tells his friends, like, she doesn't listen to my protocol. She's making excuses. She's weak, blah, blah, whatever. So I mean, I told him at one point I was sick and I was just like having like nausea and vomiting and stuff, but I didn't tell him like to the extent of it. And he was like, okay, well during that time, you know, like just, you know, stomach what you can, whatever. And you know, the scary part about this is this guy is also a nurse and he works at a hospital here in town, and it gets worse. So the whole week, like I was texting Gabby and I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to make it to San Diego with you guys. Like,
and how old are you at this point?
19, 20. Fuck. No, I was 20. Wait, yes, I was 20 because I was with Garrett already.
Were you? I don't think you were.
No, I was, because he came to the Vegas show. Remember?
Oh yes,
yeah.
Yes.
So I think I was 20.
Fuck.
Yeah, and and then finally, like, I started feeling better, and I was like, okay, Gabby, like, I can make it. And I actually flew out with her coach, who is a really great person, and he helped me out a lot with this. And so we're sitting there, and he was your coach for the first show, right? Your bodybuilding? No, it was
not my first one.
Oh, yeah. I remember who it was. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's also the coach that is her powerlifting coach that I was flying out to San Diego with. He also does like bodybuilding stuff, and I was kind of explaining to him everything that was going on, and he was like, well, you know, he like just really took time to hear what I was going through and kind of come up with solutions of what it could potentially be. And then it meant the world to me, because when we were in San Diego, he actually ate the foods that I ate, because like her and Ronnie were like carb loading, and I was just sitting there like
fuming, just posted up.
And I was so grumpy. Like we even went to a freaking pasta house, and I was just like, shaking, like just drooling like a fucking rabid dog.
The waiter comes like, hey, your friend over there kind of cool.
And so he was like, I'll do your training, your cardio with you. I'll eat your foods with you, like, so that you're supported during this week. And I was like, thank you so much. And so he knew about all of my like sickness going on. And then when we were in San Diego, I got really sick again. And so him and Ronnie like went to the like grocery store or whatever and got me a bunch of stuff and was trying to like help me stop vomiting all of my insides.
Fuck.
And so when we got back, he was like, everybody, her, Ronnie, and the coach was like, you really should go see a doctor, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm fine. It'll be fine. Everything's fine. And I remember like, I don't think my mom knew what was going on, but I think Garrett was at work or something. I don't know, but I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I think I need to go to urgent care. And she was like, okay, like I'll take you, blah, blah, blah. And then to also show how fucked up I am, when I got to urgent care, I didn't tell the doctor what was going on. He was like, well, what are you eating? And I think it was honestly because my mom was there and I didn't want like my mom to realize what I was doing to myself. So if you're watching this, Mom, sorry. But I told him, I was like, oh, well, I'm having like, you know, like broccoli and chicken and beef and rice and potatoes. Like,
and
but
pasta, you're all dreaming about the foods that you want.
You're like slowly passing out into a daydream.
And so I was telling him all this stuff and I was like, but I just told him like it was really small amounts and I was only eating probably about like 900 calories a day and stuff. And he was like, okay, well, you're definitely a little bit malnourished. Like, you know, just up your intake, blah, blah. And so I probably had mercury poisoning to some extent because I didn't like tell him anything. And then to just put into perspective, like how crazy your mind can sometimes get, you know, at this point, like she was telling me, you know, this isn't good. Like Garrett was telling me, you know, this isn't good. And he was actually really concerned. And he told me that like he had a female friend that he worked with that had a coach with a very similar name to the coach that I was with. Like it was just a different in the first name, like the last name was the same, but the first name was different. And he's like, I think she had your coach and she had mercury poisoning. He's got a bunch of lawsuits against him from multiple clients who have mercury poisoning. And I was like, no, it's fine. It's not him. Like, whatever. And I don't know why, like, I justified this man so much. And then we went to Vegas for the show, and it was a really cool show because it was like an international show. So there was a lot of people from like China, Asia, Mexico, all sorts of stuff. So it was really cool to like hear other people's diets and prep and stuff and realize how bad mine was. And it was also interesting too, because like everybody was so happy and energized, and I'm literally there like wanting to cry every single moment because I'm just miserable and dying. And we're in and granted, I mean, you're in bodybuilding, like, you know, the type of pictures you send for check-in, like it's very like minimal clothing because they need to see everything and stuff. And so
shout out to my homie Poncho. Saw the mushroom print a little too many times. What's up, buddy?
And
I felt so bad because like at the time my girlfriend, she worked real early in the morning, so I get up with her and I just like start like slugging myself out of bed to go do cardio. And then I just forgot to tell her that I had to send these pictures to my homie. So she walks into the bedroom and I'm basically naked with my underwear rolled up. And she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like,
I have an OnlyFans.
I was like, "I'm sending it to my friend." Wait, that's not what I meant. And she's like, "What?" And at 4:30 in the morning, wires can get crossed.
Yep.
And so that was almost a big fight. But
yeah. And so very like, you know, clothing. The pictures are very risque. And thankfully my coach, well, I shouldn't say thankfully, but my coach had other clients that were competing in Phoenix that same weekend. And so he went to go be with them, which in hindsight was probably the best thing that could have happened. So our plan going into the weekend was like, I would send a picture at the beginning of the morning and he'd tell me what to eat. And then afterwards I'd send a picture and he'd tell me what to eat. And so I was getting things other than fish, although that was still some of the things I had to eat. But, and I'm like in the elevator responding to an email because he sent me like some training plans or whatever. And Garrett's like looking over my shoulder and he's like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "What?" And he's all, "That's the name of the coach that gave my friend mercury poisoning." I was like, "No, it's not. It's different." He's all, "Look at the middle name." And I was like, "Oh, he's going by his middle name now." Like his first name, he stopped using it and was going by his middle name because of those things. And so Garrett was like, "Let me look up his, like, see what lawsuits are against him." And he had a bunch of lawsuits for mercury poisoning, assault and battery, and a few rape charges. And we were in the elevator and I literally just lost it. And I like bawled my eyes out. And I was like, "I've been sending this man these types of pictures. Like he's seen," and I was like freaking out. And I thought, what do I do? I was like, I don't feel comfortable sending him any more pictures. I don't trust anything he has to say. Like the show is tomorrow.
Yeah,
like,
the whole rape charges thing would kind of, and this dude's a nurse?
Yeah, Loveless Emergency Department downtown. So don't go there ever. And, and
what the fuck?
And like I used to train at Liberty. And this, like when I was doing the bodybuilding, and after the show, I went to the owners of Liberty. I was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, like this personal trainer that you have on staff, he has this against him, blah, blah."
Is he still working at Liberty?
Honestly, don't know. Afterwards, I blocked him on everything. I'm like having a mental.
Get this fucker's name. I'm curious now.
I'll tell you it off of camera.
Yeah. Holy shit.
And so thankfully. So we go into my room, and at this point, Gabby actually like surprised me. I didn't know she was coming out, but she like flew out and she, was there and stuff. And so this night, so we're in Vegas. It's me and my mom, Garrett, her. And then like the following day, my dad and my sister and her boyfriend were coming up, and like my aunt and grandma and, a lot of people were coming to support. And my mom's a fun person. And so she was like, "I got us tickets to like Magic Mike or Thunder from Down Under for one of the nights that we're going to be there." I was like, "Sick, Mom." Not the first time I've been to it, like a strip show with my mom either. I was like, "Okay, cool." She actually snuck me into one when I was not old enough to be. Okay, I was 17. We were celebrating my sister's 21st birthday. I was 17. You had to be 18. Like, it's fine. Yeah. And so I was like, Mom, like, this was before I found out all that stuff, but I was like, Mom, like, I'm so tired. I can't go. Why don't you take Gabby?
Like,
so
hell
Gabby,
yeah, I'll go.
Gabby and my mom got drunk and went to a Magic Mike show.
That
whatever.
was a fun time.
Yeah.
And then we got really drunk, and I have this video of her mom like being like holding a tequila shot and be like, "Hello, governor," and we were trying to see how many people would respond to us, and we're just in the middle of Las Vegas.
My mom's a fun lady.
Sounds like it.
But so like before the show happened, like I go into the room and Gabby's in there, and I'm, you know, she obviously tells that something's wrong, and so I tell her everything, and she's like, well, I mean, as you know, kind of the night before and the morning of the show is one of the most important times, and I was like not comfortable associating with this man anymore. And so before she left, she got us in contact with the coach that I went to San Diego with and stuff, and he did like a really long 3-hour FaceTime with me and Garrett, and like was assessing everything. And at this point I didn't really like care anymore. I was like, whatever, like right. I'm done. Like I don't know if it's like 1 a.m. I'm over this. Garrett's like her coach is on FaceTime having him do like pinch tests to see where I'm holding on to like weight and stuff. And I just like finished getting my tan, so I'm just sitting there like fuming, and I'm like, he's fucking up my tan. My coach is a pedo. Like all this stuff, and I'm just like literally lying there just crying like silently the whole time as her coach is like assessing everything. And so this man, he's like, all right, he's like, look, you look better than you did for your first show, so you've already won. He's like, now what's important, he was like, is if you go on to stage tomorrow looking the way you do face-wise, you're not going to place well. He's like, you can visibly tell how miserable and upset you are. He's also, what I want you to do is I want you to find any restaurant that's open and go get a stack of blueberry pancakes, eat some bacon, and have some black coffee. And I was like, what? He's like, you need energy. You need to feel better. He's like, go enjoy yourself. And I was like, okay. So thankfully it was in Vegas, because this was probably like 1:32 in the morning already. And he's like, and mind you, my makeup appointment the next day was at 5 a.m. And so we go get me pancakes and stuff. And I'm pretty sure I'm still crying as I'm eating the pancakes, but I think it's more like happy tears now.
Right.
Like I was like, oh my God, this is so good. This is the best pancakes I've ever had. And then I wake up in the morning and, you know, I'm on little sleep. I'm still kind of just like, whatever. I'm better, but, you know, I'm not crying anymore. And he's like, all right. He's like, I want you to eat like Sour Patch Kids, drink some wine, all sorts of stuff. And
wine?
Yeah, wine. It's a vasodilator.
Okay, that is a word with like 5 syllables. I'm a 2-syllable man.
It like,
what the fuck?
It makes you, it like dries you out. It makes you more lean. It makes your veins like more vascular.
How much wine did you intake? Because
too much. I was drunk.
I was gonna say, because with like no body fat plus wine,
I was so drunk, but I was so happy.
You're on stage, you just break posing altogether. I'm fucking strong.
And it was like, so in the class that I was competing, I did figure again. And I was the youngest competitor amongst, I think there's like 7 other girls in my class, and they were all like older
sober?
Women. Well, okay. Kind of, probably sober. But they were like, we were all backstage, like getting ready and stuff. And I'm like sloppy drunk. Like I'm starting to fall. I'm having a hard time putting my heels on.
And you're in heels.
I think what happened is I think I drank more than what the coach told me to do, because I like had a little bit and I was like, fuck it. I drank like maybe half the bottle. I don't know. Oh, but I was like, I'm a very fun drunk. Like it's rare that I ever get like emotionally sad when I'm drunk, or like a bad drunk, especially if it's wine. I'm like, woo. And so I was like backstage around like all these like moms that were competing. Like they like some of them had children, and then others were just like older, because like I said, I was the youngest one competing in my class. And they're all so nice. And you know, I kind of word vomited everything that had been going on the past 24 hours when I was drunk to all of them. And they were like, oh my God, sweetie. And they like mommed me so hard. They're like, let's get you a little bit more sober so you don't fall on stage. Like, we'll make sure, like, they literally like took me to like go get like the oil on, to like, they literally like helped me like pump up in the back. And they were so sweet. I think I almost like went on stage without one heel.
Hey, come here, Stumpy. Get over here.
They're like, come here, let us help you. Come here, little one. And it went well. I got second. And I didn't fall on my face.
Walk on with one heel. Bikini's not even tied. You're like,
I have like the wine ball in my hand. Let's get fucked up. Give me that alcohol.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, so that was my experience in bodybuilding.
Hell yeah. Well, you know, when the coach that gets you drunk is better than the one you started with, that is a hell of a prep, dude. What the fuck? One thing I don't want to gloss over, though, the Sour Patch Kids, because I had those my day of show, too. Why Sour Patch Kids?
Because of the carbs?
Right. Well, for people listening, why Sour Patch Kids?
I don't really know. Like, I understand why Sour Patch Kids for like powerlifting or CrossFit meat, because it's a simple carbohydrate, so like your body can digest it really quickly and give you immediate energy. So like for powerlifting, when you need a replenishment of like your glycogen stores, which is the stored version of glucose that your body uses to send out energy, like I get it for powerlifting, and then like I said, like for CrossFit meets and competitions and stuff, like I get it for that aspect too. I don't really understand why, but both shows I was told to have gummies beforehand.
Well, that's what my buddy was telling me that was coaching me, and he said it was because it just pumps up the muscle better because of the glycogen storage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it's like a carbohydrate, so it pulls the water into the muscles and it makes you look more full.
Right? Exactly.
That makes sense. Yeah. We do you want to tell him our fun story of our first prep in the shower?
Okay. So, it was
your ratings are about to go up by a lot.
The following segment will be available only on Patreon.
Yeah.
Yes.
That I have not created yet. So
it is $6.90.
No, but I think it was the day before we got our tan. So like when you get your tan, you have to shave your whole body, like make sure everything is shaved.
I'm Mexican as shit. That sucks.
Yeah.
Ass.
For people that don't know why, it's because like when you get the spray tan, if you have peach fuzz or like hair, it can clump the tan in that area and make
I had
it.
no idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, and make it look not great. Like you get
smooth.
like in bodybuilding, you get judged on everything, not just your muscles and your leanness, like your jewelry, your makeup,
your
presentation, nails, everything. Yeah.
It was funny because about the fucking, I had never shaved anything more than my fucking like just male grooming, right? I just never fucking done that shit other than that. And so I'm standing in the fucking backyard and with a fucking
the backyard, you have a shower.
Like a little weed whacker.
Yeah. I'm back there with my fucking buzzer, fucking I'm half naked, fucking shaving and shit. And my girl's dad shows up to the house.
Nice.
And peeks behind the fucking fence. He's like, "No, what the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, "I've got my show in 3 days, man." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, that fucking sucks. You have fun." And he just like waddled away concerned. I was like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, that shit was horrible. No, yeah, literally, my shaving process was outside doing that. And I got the vacuum and just fucking vacuumed it all over. I didn't want to clog up all the sinks and shit.
Yeah, well, we did it in the shower and clogged the sinks.
And I misused Nair, and that really sucked ass.
No. Yeah, but continuing our story is we decided that we were going to shave each other so we didn't like miss any spots.
Okay, at the time, like neither of us had like significant others, and I didn't want like to elicit like my mom to like shave my naked body. Like so we decided we're like, we've been in this together, like
we're gonna fucking shave each other.
We're best friends. It's fine.
It's fine. So we're at my house and she shows up and we're both just dead. And I'm like naked. I get in the shower and then she's going to shave me first. And I turn around and she's in the shower with her socks on, her clothes on. I'm like, why aren't you naked?
I thought it'd be less weird if I was clothed.
I thought we were committing. Now I just look too eager. What the fuck?
Standing there like a skeleton, and I turn around.
Yeah, she does. And she turns around. She slowly looks me up and down. She's like, "Why are you wearing clothes?" And mind you, the shower is on.
We're showering together, and she has her socks. She didn't even take her socks off.
No. You were showering. She was just getting soaked. Those are two very different things. She had socks on, okay? She wanted no part.
And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I thought it'd be less weird. And she's like, you realize you have to get naked afterwards for me to shave you, right? And I was like, I didn't think that far ahead. I just thought this was the best choice. And I was like, should I get out and get naked and then come back in and shave you? Or should I just finish it and then just get out and get naked? So, yeah.
Oh, that was good times. Mm-hmm. Oh, my cheeks hurt from laughing.
the chemistry you guys have makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus fucking
times.
Christ. That's hilarious. Yeah, oh
he doesn't
my
even.
God.
He doesn't know what to say.
I don't. No, I have nothing to follow up with that. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's one of our better stories.
Yeah.
So
the highlights.
as you both moved on from bodybuilding, was it because you just had different interests? Was it you realized how toxic that sport was for you too? Like personally, obviously, like what made you move away from it?
I think it was more of like the body dysmorphia side of it. Like I knew that I wasn't in a great headspace, and I kind of realized for my personality, I can't even talk personality. I'm like an all or nothing type of person. Like if I'm committed to something, I'm going to do it all or nothing. Yeah. And I think that recipe in combination with bodybuilding wasn't a good fit. But then also once I started to do bodybuilding as well, there's also toxic traits to, or what did I say bodybuilding? Mm-hmm. Powerlifting. Mm-hmm. When I started to do powerlifting, there's also like toxic things to that too, of like cutting weight and sitting in the sauna for an hour to like make your weight class and stuff like that. So like in that aspect, it just wasn't good for me. So
It sounds like the mental part of it was the biggest thing to make you shift away from.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. I hate my work phone so much. It just randomly restarts. Anyway, because you would think, for bodybuilding, you need that mentality of I'm going to go all in. I'm going to do it 110%. That's how I was too. And that's one of the only positive takeaways that I had from it was like, okay, I know that somewhere deep below all of this, there is the ability to get a six pack. I have the discipline. I have the gumption, I guess, to go out and do that. But the process in which that takes, I'm not convinced that's worth it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious I know how your stage experiences were, but like mentally speaking, when you're up there posing, did you guys want to be there? Like,
Yes.
Were you having a good time posing?
Yes.
I think
Okay.
I was.
I was. Like, I feel like once you get on stage, everything becomes worth it. And it is very fun. Like, it's a fun experience to be on stage and to kind of
around.
it's fun.
So
but
I'm glad to hear that.
yeah, like my perspective. And then I feel like once I got out of bodybuilding, I feel like I realized how much sacrifice it was because I feel like I lost so much time with friends. I wouldn't go out with friends. I wouldn't go out with family. I remember bringing my Tupperware to things like Thanksgiving or Christmas because I couldn't eat what.
You become the most unfun individual ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was more important to me than being a certain body fat and looking a certain way. I really wanted to live life and be in the moments.
Love.
Yeah.
Well, because I asked how your mindset was on stage because I fucking hated being on stage. I thought that was the gayest shit in the fucking. That was gayer than AIDS. I fucking hated being on stage. I remember stepping, and it's also just because the company, the organization that I did it under fucking sucks too. Mm-hmm. I did it under OCB.
Oh yeah,
and that is just a shitty fucking company, or organization, whatever you want to call it. And I remember like it was the most unorganized thing. It was here at the chemo. The most unorganized event I've ever been a part of. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget this. So we're down there. It's like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. We're down like under the underground part of the chemo theater. And they've got us all separated in different rooms and shit like that. And the show was supposed to start at like 9:30, I think. But we still didn't get a schedule. So nobody knew what the fuck was going on. No. So they call us onto a big like group, like men and women. And they were calling off the fucking times for the different classes and shit. Well, they read off, and I'm assuming most of these women had no idea. They read off that all the female competitors won't be going on till like 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I turn around and I see all these dried out competitors die inside even more because they've just been depleting water, and now they have to sustain themselves for another 5 or 6 hours. Mm-hmm. No. That's fucked up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's all of that. And then like the actual like going on stage of it all, like, I don't know. It was so strange. I just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
It was because I was like looking forward to it so much and this and the other. And and my buddy who was coaching me, because he's a bodybuilder too, natural bodybuilder, and he's from Mexico. Mm-hmm. He lives in the States now, but so he's got a thick Mexican accent. And he was telling me in the days beforehand, he was like, hey, if I'm telling you, or when you're on stage, I'm only going to yell at you in Spanish so that you know what's going on. I was like, okay, I will learn Spanish now. Sounds good. But I speak a little bit, but not enough. Yeah. But not enough, not enough to hold the conversation. But I knew what he was yelling at me, and he had to fucking like yell at me to focus. I think you just tell I just did not want to fucking be there. Mm-hmm. And not because I was miserable. Like, yeah, I was fucking hungry as shit. But like, I looked in the mirror and just went, abs, awesome, cool, let's move on. But then, like, I don't know. I just mentally just was not.
Yeah.
I have no. It was the strangest, because I loved being in prep. You know, I did. It became this like weird, like sadomasochistic, like how more fucked up can we get? Like, if I'm doing 30 minutes of cardio, let's do 45. And as the weeks turned, it was like an hour and a half of cardio in the morning and 2.5 hours of weights, and on like 900 calories a day. And it just became fucking sadistic. And, but then I look back on it now and I'm like, that's fucking stupid. Maybe that's where my hernia came from. That's fucking stupid. Yeah, I'm glad to have moved on. And it sounds like for the both of you, you're very happy to be like divorced from that. I wouldn't say community, but like that environment.
Yep.
No, I know you are. Fuck.
Yes. I mean, I think it was the first show, honestly, that started my eating disorder, which was purging. So I would like anytime throwing up. I'd make myself throw up. Okay. And so like,
is that the same thing as bulimia?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't like putting it in a box.
Okay.
Like myself in a box. I don't like, cause I feel like, and you know, this could obviously be different for people with eating disorders that they're going through, but like, I feel like a lot of times with eating disorders, we tend to attach ourselves to that title.
Like,
and it,
I am
bulimic, and it essentially becomes like a form of justification for continuing to do it, because it's what we know, it's what we associate with, it's what like we start to identify with. And so I would either make myself throw up or go to the gym and work off exactly how many calories I had consumed if I felt like I overate, or like even on like cheat days when I was given them, like in my mind I was like, there's no way I can be as lean as I want eating this food, so I'm just gonna go throw up. And so like, and honestly, like no one knew that I was doing that either, because I mean, like, why would I advertise that, you know? Because once again, like, I battled with it because I was like, well, if I do win, like, then I was cheating because I threw up, like I made myself throw up, you know? Like, so in my mind, I don't want people knowing for that reason, of thinking that like, oh well, she only won because she didn't keep any of her food down. And then somewhere along the way I got out of, and you know what's really, I guess, kind of scary about that is at the time when I was dealing with this eating disorder, I was in the College of Nutrition. But what's interesting is a lot of the teachers, like we did a lot of like diet exercises where we'd have to track what we would eat and our exercise and kind of like analyze it and stuff, and then recommend like how to improve it or whatever. And my teachers would always see mine. They're like, oh my gosh, you're going to make such a nutritionist. You're so healthy, like blah, 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 blah. And I like, at the time I was like, yeah. But looking back now, I'm like, that's part of the reason why I left the School of Nutrition. Because when I kind of pulled my head out of what I'd put myself in, I was like, this isn't good that they think that what I'm doing is healthy, because it's not. And so I was like, I think the only way for me to like get over my eating disorder, because honestly, no one even knew I had an eating disorder until like a few months ago when I actually started telling people about it. Because at the time, like when it was happening, I didn't want, in my mind, I viewed it as a weakness, and I didn't want people to know that I was weak or whatever. So I was like, I'll just figure it out on my own.
We got to figure with your background in fitness, doing bodybuilding shows, that there's a lot of ego involved.
Oh yeah.
And trying to get out ahead of that is not simple as like, I'm just going to tell people about one of the worst parts of my life right now.
Yeah. Haha.
So for people that have absolutely no idea outside just the surface value, making yourself puke is not a good idea. What are you doing to your body? Like what are the effects of that over time?
Well, over time, I mean, with a lot of it, like if it is just bulimia, you know, a lot of it is like you can see clinical signs in teeth. Because, you know, the acid from the vomit starts deteriorating like your gums and stuff. So sometimes with like bulimic people, a lot of the times like the first things that people may look for if someone's like presenting signs of an eating disorder, but they don't actually like admit to it or seek help for it and stuff, is looking at like the gums and the teeth and stuff. I didn't do it enough or long enough, I feel, to where that affected my teeth, because it was very strategic. It wasn't just like, oh, I ate food, I can't keep this down. It was whenever I felt like I wasn't doing enough, or I wasn't eating well enough, or I wasn't following plan. Because, you know, I'm human. There were times where I definitely ate outside of what I was supposed to, but then I'd be like, fuck, Natalie, why did you do that? Like, you don't deserve, essentially it's like, you don't deserve to have that, like, go throw up. And so I think like long-term wise, I mean, it's really, if you think about it internally, it's just fucking up like, you know, your esophagus, your stomach, your mouth, everything like that, because you're not supposed to have, you know, your stomach acid traveling up that way multiple times consistently. Like it can, I imagine, you know, it could probably like erode some of, you know, organs, cause like, what is it? Is it would it cause fistulas?
No,
or more like ulcers.
Usually it's like you can cause gastric ulcers, but also there's like sphincters that separate your esophagus from your stomach from your small intestines, and then goes all. So there's sphincters that separate each region, but it's like it's training your body to like that sphincter. It's not supposed to open up, you know. It allows the food to go down.
So things can't travel upwards. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, thankfully, mine didn't last long enough to know like the long-term effects personally. No. But I mean, it's like she said, you know, you're training your body to not work in a way it's supposed to. You're also, I imagine that people who have bulimia for a long period of time probably start developing like irritable bowel syndrome, like Crohn's disease, things like that are actually being proven to be more mental based. Because, you know, the gut and the brain have a very intimate connection, and what the brain thinks and feels, it responds in the gut.
Well, I mean, it's the, you know, like when you have high anxiety, you have that like tension in your gut, like you want to puke or just have some sort of bowel movement because of the intense, the intense anxiety that's happening in your body. Crohn's disease specifically, for you who don't know what the fuck that is, can you briefly explain that? Because a buddy of mine had that. He passed away a few years ago, but that deteriorated his fucking life. So what is Crohn's disease, and what does that look like for people?
That's a great question. Do you want to answer that?
I can't give like specific, I don't know much about Crohn's disease, honestly, but it's more of like an autoimmune type disease, and it's not good.
Yeah, because like the way that I haven't looked into it for fucking years, but what I remember it from what my buddy experienced at least was that he had to do like high amounts of protein would destroy his gut. So he had to find like the not vegan protein, but like the alternate sources of protein that weren't strictly just meat, because it would destroy his fucking system. And a side effect of that was IBS.
Yeah.
And like the mental aspects of it was fucking terrible because he just felt sick all the time. And then he took it like the other way, and he's like, you know, fuck that, he got jacked as shit somehow. We have no idea how he did it to this day, but he still managed to get jacked as shit, even dealing with Crohn's, but he would just get like sick, like the flu, his best friend, strep throat all the time. Even just like, it's like he lived with a common cold, and it would just like get worse as the seasons went on.
Yeah. Well, with like, probably a reason why and honestly, like, I'm not a Crohn's expert in any way, shape, or form, but like when you've got an autoimmune disorder, you know, what that is it's your body attacking healthy cells within your body for some reason, whatever is triggering it, you know, whatever. But as you know, with the autoimmune disorder where it's in your gut, and the reason why you get sick more is because like your immune system is overworking dealing with the autoimmune system. So anytime that like a bacteria or a virus comes in, the normal response in like a healthy individual that doesn't have an autoimmune disorder, it's not the same type of response. And so that's why, like, same thing with like HIV or AIDS, like why you get sick so easily is because your immune system is compromised because of, I mean, granted, it's different in, you know, the aspect of it. But like if you have an autoimmune disorder or you have a disease that's, you know, some type of virus that can't be beat, you think about it in like your white blood cells are just working so hard to deal with that. So when something else comes in, it's kind of like, well, fuck, like how do we send blood cells from here to go here? Or how do we make more? And, you know, protein makes blood cells. So if your buddy, you know, like wasn't eating enough, that could definitely contribute to like him getting sick more frequently. And
that was the double-edged sword. Like too much protein fucks him up. Not enough fucks him up.
Yeah. And it's like a lot of times like with protein in meat-based substances, you know, protein is the hardest, or I shouldn't say hardest, but the slowest macronutrient to digest in the body. And so that could be why protein was hard for him, is because it just takes a little bit. It has a higher thermic effect of food, so it takes more calories to burn that protein. And so it takes a little bit more effort on the body to break down protein, which is why like if you're trying to lose weight or, you know, lean out or stuff, why one of the reasons why protein is important, because it demands more energy to be used. And so because it's a little harder on the system, that could be why like that messed him up, but powders didn't, because the powder's already broken down. Mm-hmm. It doesn't require as much on the body to break that down more, send it out, absorb it, stuff like that. And if it's like whey protein that he's doing, that actually has like a 98% bioavailability, making it like the highest source of protein that our body can absorb.
Right.
So,
yes. I'm shocked that I am shocked at myself that I understood everything you just said. Maybe I am learning something. What pulled you out of your eating disorder?
Honestly, CrossFit for the most part. And also just me, like I have a very easy way of self-deteriorating, but I also have a lot of self-awareness. So I'm aware when I'm doing bad things to myself. And so I was aware that this eating disorder wasn't great. And honestly, after I stopped competing, it kind of started to go away on its own, because I think my eating disorder was only associated with the end product of what stepped on stage. It wasn't something that I like used to like feel better or
it wasn't a coping mechanism.
Yeah,
it wasn't necessarily of your environment.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it like the urge to like purge or throw up or stuff after show was still there, but I felt like I had more control of not having to do it, because like the expectation to look a certain way had been kind of released. So that kind of helped. And then, like I said, when I was flying home from Vegas, I was always kind of like against CrossFit growing up. Like her and I had tried out a gym together in high school, and it was just a douchey gym. Like the owner, like they're like literally we showed up and they're like, all right, you're just going to throw this barbell above your head and like figure it out type of thing. We're like, and everybody was very judgmental. And then I have an older sister, and she was super into CrossFit when I was in like high school and college. And the gym she went to, I thought it was a joke. Like the owner and the coaches, like once again, it was like, okay, I get the idea of CrossFit. Like it's cool, whatever. But like all the gyms I'd been to, I was like, this is stupid. And so I had gone to, Garrett was a coach at Big Barn CrossFit gym here in town. And so
Big Barn?
Big Barn.
Love it.
Because it actually started in some dude's backyard, like a little barn that he had. And then it grew so big that it was like, now it's Big Barn.
We had small barn.
And now it's Big Barn.
Now it's Big Barn.
And
I mean, you also go to a gym called Gaines.
Yeah.
And that's just beautiful.
Straightforward.
That's
with a Z.
Yeah, that's fucking amazing.
But like he had, I'd done a few classes when he was there, and I really enjoyed the coaching in that environment, but I just wasn't eating enough food to support going to CrossFit. And so when we were on the plane flying home, he's like, I got you a membership to Big Barn. He's like, whenever you're feeling ready, you're going to start. I was like, okay, sure. I'll try it out. I mean, I just closed this chapter of my life. I don't want to stop exercising. And I'm, growing up playing so many sports, like I'm a very competitive person in nature. And so that's part of the reason why I did bodybuilding. And I think like, I guess I wouldn't say like I thrived in it, but like, I was able to follow through with it because I'm very competitive. And so I was like, okay, like, CrossFit could be potentially a good thing, because you can compete in it. Like there's other people, whatever. And so I remember like going to my first day and just being overwhelmed with how body positive and kind everybody was. Like there are people there, like, overweight people, like working out without their shirts on, like fully embracing their body and just whatever. And I was just like, like there were times in prep when I was like maybe 8-9% body fat, and I was like, I can't take my shirt off here. I'm not lean enough. And yet here are all these people that are just celebrating what their body can do and not really caring what it looked like. And so I was like, that's pretty cool. And then just kept going. And, you know, there's a lot of really fucking strong women at that gym. And I was like, I've never been in an environment like that. And I was like, fuck, these girls are like throwing 130 pounds in a snatch over their head, which is like an Olympic lifting movement. And I was like, that's so cool. I was like, I want to do that. Or like I'd see people do muscle ups and I was like, fuck, I want to do that. Or like handstand walks. I was like, I want to do that. And just kept showing up. And honestly, like I remember, the one part of my body that I've always hated, but it's a lot better now, are my legs. Cause like similar to with your little pooch, like my legs couldn't lose weight. Like no matter how many sprints.
Where is she going with this? What other women has she talked to in this town? Wait a minute.
It's like I couldn't get my legs lean enough to where I liked them. And so I was always really self-conscious about my legs, and I would never work out in shorts or anything like that. And I remember like I'd go to the gym and I'd see these women with like these fucking beautiful massive thighs, and like they'd be in like these tiny boot shorts, and I was like, I want to be like that one day, but until my legs get better, I can't be there. Like it was still kind of that mindset that was still like I was dancing around. Yeah. And I remember one day Garrett bought me a pair of those booty shorts, and he was like, look, I got you something. And he was so excited. I was like, fuck. I was like, thanks. I was like, oh, thanks. And he's like, and we were getting ready to go to the gym. You know, I was already dressed and stuff. And he like looks at me. He's like, you're not going to try them on? I was like, okay, fine. I'll go try them on. So I go in the bathroom. I try them on. I'm literally sitting in there. I'm like, fuck. It looks like, you know, those little sausage packs that you buy at the store that like you cut open, you have to like squeeze the sausage out. In my head, I was like, that's what my legs fucking look like. Like, why would he buy me? I was so mad, not at him, but I was just like, what the fuck? Like, why? Whatever. Like, I thought I'd come so far in the few months of being in CrossFit, and then this like just brought me all the way back to all my negative thoughts and stuff. And I like come out and he's like, oh my God, they look so good. And I was like, no, they don't. And he's all, what do you mean you don't like them? I was like, I like the shorts. It's a nice gesture. I was like, but I don't like my legs in them. And he's like, well, just wear them to the gym. He's all the girls will love them. You'll get a bunch of compliments and maybe it'll help. And I was like, no. And he's like, you've got to push yourself. He's like, you've got to get out of your comfort zone. He's all, wear the fucking shorts to the gym. And I was like, okay. And so like, I mean, he probably said it nicer.
That's how your brain interpreted it.
I mean, honestly, like sometimes he and I like, we'll be working. I'm like, can you just call me a fucking pussy to like get this lift? Like, just tell me I'm being a bitch. And he's like, you're being a bitch. I was like, thank you. And then like, you know, so maybe he did say that. I don't even know.
That's the type of healthy relationship I strive to have one day. Yes.
Or like sometimes he'll say, I'm like, okay, that was a little too spicy. Can we dial it back a little bit? Like, call me a bitch, but do it in like, you're being a little bitch, baby. Like,
and that's why I'm single. Just kidding. Just kidding.
But I was like,
women's too complicated. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, we are sometimes. And so I wore him to the gym, and sure enough, he was right. And all the girls.
Oh my fucking God. Subtle brag, but he was right. Turns out it was fucking amazing.
No, not that, but like all the girls, like I still didn't feel good, but all the girls were like, oh my God, they're called Fleo shorts, like very big in the CrossFit community. They're like the brand. And they were like, oh my God, you got a pair of Fleo, like welcome to the cult. Like it's official. You're in CrossFit now. Like your legs look so good, blah, blah, whatever. And I was like, so like eventually I was like, oh God, okay. And so eventually, you know, I kind of just like was like, you know what? The people at the gym don't care. I'm the only one that cares what they look like. And so like I forced myself to be more uncomfortable with like how I trained at the gym, like clothing wise. So like I'd wear like more shorts to the gym. I'd, you know, mid workout when I'd see other people taking their shirts off, I'd be like, okay, I'll do it with you guys. Oh, yeah. And then somehow it just blossomed into like now I don't ever wear leggings because like I hate them now. Actually, part of the reason why most of my tattoos are on my legs is because it's like a celebration of like, yay, we did it. We're here in a better place. But honestly, like just being in an environment where the focus moved away from how you look to how you perform or how strong you are or just celebrating once again what your body can do, that really helped me. You know, I think kind of just, you know, she really helped a lot of the time. Garrett helped, like just surrounding myself with people that encouraged me to demand better of myself because I deserve to be happier and to feel better. And then, I've also talked about this like in podcasts and stuff too, is it was learning about what food actually does to my body so I can stop blaming food for how I feel about myself, because it's not food's fault. It's, like Gabby said, there isn't good or bad food. It's just food. And food only becomes bad when we give it the power to let it be bad or to make us feel bad about it. So like really learning and understanding what food does. He's giving me a look. What's that look for?
I'm listening.
But learning, and understanding, like, if I step on the scale and it's up a few pounds, like not attacking myself, but assessing like, okay, well, did I have more carbs the night beforehand? Because you actually retain 3 grams of water for every 1 gram of carbohydrate that you have. Was it that, or is it like, just other things? And eventually now I think it's been probably like a year since I weighed myself or done that, because I just don't really care anymore. Like I perform so much better. I'm so much stronger. I'm so much happier. I can eat pasta every week and not feel like I'm going to blow up or that I need to throw it up or anything like that. And it's just like, the things that matter have shifted, so I don't really care anymore.
Right. And I agree with that. So I agree with everything you just said, but we can agree also that there is food that is objectively bad for you.
Like what?
Candy.
Why?
You eat fucking too much. I mean, it's all in proportion, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. You have one. I mean, granted, I've now learned very sadly that high school Noah is a very different individual than me now. Like I could pound fucking soda and candy and pizza and Chinese, like the Leaning Tower of pizza boxes right next to the Chinese food with all my buddies, and I can walk out and just be completely fine. Now, if I go to the movie theater and I have more than half a box of fucking Mike and Ike's, I get sick to my stomach from all the fucking sugar and processed shit. I would just say that, and this is from my own personal experience, obviously, I can speak the most to, the better quality stuff that you have, you're going to feel better rather than if you just have a strict, like the standard American diet. Like, I think you both have put it on your story where like the FDA put out like the healthiest foods for you, and one of the top things on there was like Frosted Flakes or like the processed cereals. It's like, go fuck yourself. Like, the stuff we're feeding our kids is objectively bad for you. Like cereals, right? It has all the high fructose corn syrups and the red dye nonsense and all that, right? You feed that to a kid, it's going to turn into little bowling balls you see rolling around the playgrounds, assuming they even go to playgrounds anymore. Let's just be fucking honest. And I get it, I understand the convenience of like a McDonald's, right? A big reason why I'm very glad I don't have kids right now is because I don't have time for kids. I barely have time. I don't cook for myself. I go to fucking Costco and I just get the pre-made shit there. That's the healthiest of what they've got. And like right now they've been making these little like kits of, it's basically Chipotle, but Costco version of it. And I can make 3 meals out of it and I'm happy. Right. But if I was like a single dad and I've got 1 or 2 kids, am I going to get off my work, whatever it is, pick up the kids, make dinner for the 5th time in a row, or am I just going to stuff them full of, toxic burgers from McDonald's, let all that poison work through their system, they're in bed by 8, I'm drunk by 9. Like what sounds better, right? And so if you're just feeding your kids fucking McDonald's and Burger King and pizza and all this shit, objectively, their health is going to get worse. And if you feed that to yourself, your health is going to get worse. I think everything is in moderation, right? Like there are people that can do drugs like a fucking champ. But there are other people that hit one line of blow and they go crash their car, right? Maybe it's a bit of an extreme example, but to wrap this all up, there is food. Yeah, is that proper English? Yes.
There is food?
There is food that is objectively bad for you.
So when I say there's no good or bad food, I mean in the aspect. So when we think of good or bad, like definition-wise, it adds a type of value. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. It adds a type of like, we're adding moral value to food when it shouldn't have it. So there's nutritious food and then there's food that's not as nutritious. There are ingredients that are harmful. There are amounts of food that is harmful.
Yes.
But food itself only becomes bad morally when you allow it to be bad. And what I mean by that is, so our brain and gut have
Well, I mean, listen, here's okay. I guess that's where I'm having a conflict with the allow it to be bad. Like I would, if I could give Bob's Burgers and the ranchero burger, it's fucking amazing. I love that. That's my like weakness. It's like kryptonite. If I could allow that to be healthy for me, I would.
So what I mean in that aspect,
I don't allow it to give me the shits at 3 o'clock in the morning because my poor little white stomach doesn't love the Mexican part of me that loves chili. You know what I mean? Like I got my mom's, like the mom's side of the family, their digestive system, but I got my dad's side of the family, their gut that loves chili. I got their taste buds. You know what I mean? They conflict every night.
So maybe like allow is not the correct word, but what I mean is like, so your gut has something called an enteric nervous system. So it's got its own nervous system that's essentially like a highway that is completely empty for transmissions from your brain to come down to your gut. So they're very intimately connected. And so whatever emotions we feel in our brain is mirrored in our gut. So like you said earlier, you know, when you're talking about like people getting anxious and like, you know, that you feel that tenseness, it's because the actual stomach, intestine, stomach acid, all that stuff is reflecting what you're feeling. So it's increasing. It's becoming faster. So any food that you have in your system is getting moved through faster. You know, you've got higher rates of like stomach acid in. And also if you're feeling sad, same thing, everything slows down. And so everything that you feel and is processed in your brain is actually mirrored in your gut and your intestinal tract. And so when I say allow, what I mean is like, you know, working with women, and you know, I'm sure men experience this too. A lot of women, you know, they're like, oh, anytime that I eat, like, we'll just use pasta as an example, or actually we'll use a burger. When they're like, oh, well, I had a burger, like I feel bad about that, or I feel guilty for eating it, or I shouldn't have had that. Anytime that those thoughts start occurring after eating or while you're eating, or even before you're eating, it starts messing up how your body digests the food physiologically. Right. And so it changes now. Instead of like eating that burger and just being like, you know what, I'm going to eat this burger, I'm going to enjoy it, I'm going to appreciate that it's got, you know, some amounts of protein, fat, carbs. If you get lettuce and tomatoes on it, whoopee, you got some vegetables, you know, you got some fiber, micronutrients. So hold on.
A couple of strands of lettuce and like.
But if you train your brain to be like, I'm just going to allow myself to enjoy this food. I'm going to eat it and I'm going to move on with my day and I'm not going to dwell mental energy on it.
Yeah, I agree.
Then your body is going to digest it normally. It's going to break it down. It's going to send out the nutrients where it needs to go. And then it's going to just excrete whatever it doesn't need. But when we get in our own way mentally, because of that connection in our brain and gut, if I have that same burger and I'm like, oh, fuck, like I feel bad, I shouldn't have had that, blah, blah, blah. The brain tells that to the gut in its own language. And so now the gut is like, it can go one of two ways or even both. It can be like, well, headquarters just said this is bad for us. So like, why should we give any of the nutrients to the muscles or our blood cells or our immune system or rebuilding anything? Why don't we just excrete all of it? So now that's just wasted calories. That can be harmful for your body, because now instead of your body extracting the protein out of the burger and sending it to, you know, building more blood cells and replenishing hormones and stuff like that, it's just gonna be like, nah, fuck that. They said it was bad. Get it out of here. And then on the other hand too, it's now also messing up with how your body digests that food. So instead of it like the normal amounts of stomach acid being released to break it down, turn it into chyme, which is just like a substance that it then pushes into the small intestine.
Wait, turns it into what?
Chyme. CHYME.
Huh.
I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Yeah, you are. It's just when your body breaks down stuff, it like emulsifies all the fats and stuff, and it turns into chyme, and that's what goes into the digestive system.
And then and then like now when it's, you know, so your stomach did that, it did what it was supposed to do at the normal rate it was supposed to. You didn't produce any extra stomach acid because you were feeling anxious about what you just ate. It didn't produce less stomach acid because you were feeling sad about what you just ate. It was the perfect amount that your body needs. So it breaks it down, goes into chyme, goes into your small intestine. Same thing. Your small intestine is now able to just break that food down, start absorbing nutrients, and then pass it on to your large intestine, where same thing happens. You know, maybe any fiber gets fed to your bacteria, you know, the nutrients still get sent out, things like that. And then whatever the body doesn't need, it either gets shit out or peed out.
Right.
And so if you can understand that, yes, there are food that has high nutritional value. There's food with not a lot of nutritional value. If you replace good and bad with those descriptions, it allows for a better internal experience of eating food because you're not fucking up how your body's supposed to do based off of the thoughts that you're giving yourself. So it's just like, yes, there are foods that can cause harm to our bodies. Yeah, ingredients. High fructose corn syrup is one of them. It's not really great for us. But at the same time, like, it's going to do more damage inside your body if you let it by giving those thoughts of like, well, fuck, I just had a Pop-Tart. I shouldn't have done that. You know, not only is a high fructose corn syrup going to fuck up whatever it's going to fuck up because it's not a great ingredient, now on top of that, your digestive system isn't going to work efficiently to absorb. Like, regardless, everything has some nutrients that can be utilized. It's whether or not we get in the way of it actually being utilized. Because, like, yeah, Pop-Tarts, we don't think of it as like a nutritious meal because it's really not. But the carbohydrates and the sugar of that can provide some benefit to the body depending on, you know, what you're using. I bet you've seen on social media, people are like, oh, Pump-Tarts, having Pop-Tarts before exercise.
Like either that or Rice Krispies.
Yeah. So it's like, it can serve a good purpose for you. But if you start getting in the way of it by having feelings of guilt or things like that, then it's just, that's when it actually becomes bad in your system. That's what I mean by like good or bad. You know, obviously I'm not going to tell people to go eat, you know, like Pop-Tarts every day and cereal every day. But it's like, okay, if you do like cereal, can we add more nutritional value to it? Like, can we put, you know, some like protein powder in the milk so that you have some protein with it? Can we add like some fruits and vegetables on the side for micronutrients? Or honestly, sometimes cereal is the best option depending on like your living situation. Because although cereal does have a lot of like processed ingredients, it also has a lot of fortified vitamins and minerals. So if like that's all you can afford to give your kids, you're still, you know, it still can be helpful in that aspect. But it's like, let's make a more educated choice on the cereals. Like maybe, you know, looking at the ingredients and not doing Cap'n Crunch because it is full of like the dyes you said, and it is higher in sugar than like grape nuts would be, you know? So it's like, it all comes down to being informed enough about what you're reading on the labels, understanding what happens in your body, how food works, so that you can make an educated choice on what's going to serve you best to feel the best. Does that make more sense?
Well said.
Thank you. It's like I do it for a living. It's like I have this conversation multiple times a week, every single week.
Extremely well said. Let's shift a little bit because one of the last episodes you guys put out, and I think we talked about this a little bit too, internal monologue. Yeah. Something very interesting to me that gave me like a little spike. It's like, fuck, does not everyone have this stupid fucking voice in their head? Because my brain, the way it works is I constantly have like a little version of me talking to me.
Me too.
I swear it's not schizophrenia, but he has friends over sometimes, but that's not the point. It's either my inner monologue, and then it's telling me like, okay, I have to do this. I have these things to do, all these things to worry about, and like all these things I have to still accomplish for my day. Or for whatever reason, my brain's trying to play a song. I don't know why. It's just trying to put music on. Like at all, like there's a song going on right now in my head as we're having this conversation.
You need to sing it.
What song is it?
That'll never happen.
Sing it.
So you might actually have heard of them. You've heard of Dragged Under? They're a metal band.
It sounds familiar.
They're fucking amazing. Okay. I saw them live about a month and a half ago, and it's been on my repeat. And they have a really good song called Upright Animals about the government and how much they hate the government. And that's just been playing in my head for the last like 2 hours we've been doing this podcast.
So how do you like...
And I don't know why.
How do you hear that, but also focus and speak?
I have no idea.
I don't understand. Because like, I don't know. Do you hear songs in your head? With your monologue thing that you've got going on?
I feel like it's more like I'll sing it out loud. Like songs aren't my monologue, but I feel like in my self monologue, it's like my little voice in my head, like talking to myself about what I'm going to do that day, or I'll see something and like make a comment about it in my head. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know. I feel like it doesn't really play an effect of like if I'm focused or not.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it does. Kind of. Yeah, it does. Because, like, I guess with me, now I'm thinking about it way too much. Okay, so, yeah, I constantly have, like, a little voice in my head that's telling me things I have to do and, like, accomplish or whatever it is. And then it's, especially, like years and years and years ago, we mentioned mental health a little bit earlier, years and years ago, before I knew anything that was potentially wrong with my body, like hormonal wise. Because post-COVID, I was overseas for a little bit, came back during the pandemic, and I was like, fuck it. I finally have healthcare. I'm going to figure out like what's wrong with my body. And the first thing I'm going to do is blood work. And I got my blood work done. And turns out that when I first got them tested, my T levels were at 215. And I was like, that's not good. So then my doctors were like, what the fuck? Because at that point I was 25, maybe 24, around there. And no, it was last year. So I was 20. Oh, fuck. When was it? Oh my God. It's like 24, 25. And they were like, okay, that's not normal. Come back in a month. We're going to redo your work. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Came back and it dropped from 215 to 185. And they're like, that's not fucking true. Come back in 2 weeks.
Run it back. Let's do it again.
Then it went from 185 to 168. And they were like, what, are you dying? Like, what the fuck are you doing? And they were like, and so like, okay, you have low T. We're just going to stop here because next you might just die on the way in. So they're like, okay. And they screened me like so many times. They're like, have you ever taken or abused steroids? And I remember the first time they asked me that in person, I was just like, do they think so? Am I a big boy? I'm like, what?
Was that how your voice in your head actually said it?
Sometimes, yeah. There's a little repressed like childhood Noah that like died 15 years ago. He wants to still like come out, and then like, so you ever seen Step Brothers where he's burying fucking my little childhood Noah is trying to come like, I'm still alive. You're waking the neighbors, and he's just burying. Yeah. So, so anyway, so they were like, okay, no steroids. Are you like, have you ever taken opiates? Like, have you ever abused opiates? I'm like, nope. I'm like, okay. Like, do you sleep? Like, how often do you sleep? I'm like, 5 to 7 hours a night. Like, okay. Like, what the fuck is going on? And they just couldn't figure out like what's going on. And the reason why I wanted to get my blood work done was because I was just always fucking tired. I went to a military school for 4 years of high school and 2 years of college, and just being in that environment, everybody's fucking tired. You have a packed schedule, you have all this extracurricular bullshit you're doing, and so just everyone all through high school was extremely tired. And so I didn't really think too much of it. But then going into college, I stayed, and I had a lot of other friends that went off to regular college, and they seemed to be perfectly normal. And I would talk to them about it. I'm like, hey, are you still fucking like NIMI tired? Like the school's called NIMI. I was like, hey, are you still like this tired? I'm like, no, I think most of us doing pretty okay. I'm drunk every now and again, but we're doing okay. I'm like, oh, I'm still exhausted. Oh, I'm still at the military school. Maybe it's whatever. But I left and I was still fucking tired. I was like, what the fuck? And severely depressed, high anxiety. And so the reason I bring this up, like the inner monologue stuff, is as I was growing up and dealing with all of this, my inner monologue was like, okay, we have all these things we have to worry about, all these things we have to do. You can just blow your head off. That'd be fun. Nope, never mind. Move on from that. And then just move. It was just this weird cycle of like anxious depression with like cynical dark humor and like all this stuff. And so flash forward to when adult Noah finally gets healthcare and I have my T levels done. It's like, oh, no wonder you're tired all the time, anxious all the time, severely fucking depressed. You have extremely low testosterone. Because like leading up to that, I had got put on antipsychotics. Well, one actually. And it worked for like 6 months, 5 or 6 months maybe. And it was fucking weird. Being like, having this like synthetic happiness. Oh my God.
How was that experience? Like, what was the difference?
It was like, I never became manic, but like, because the way it was described to me by this psychologist, they were like, well, basically what's going on right now. So imagine your brain is existing in a tub and the water faucet is the dopamine and serotonin. Well, nothing is plugging up the fucking drain. It's just going right past your brain down the drain. And I was like,
Nice.
I was like, thanks. This is not making me feel better. And he goes, well, what this drug is going to do is it's going to put a stopper on the drain and your brain is just going to soak in serotonin and the dopamine is going to be processed better and shit like that. And I was like, that sounds fun. Let's see what happens. And it took about like 3 days for it to work. But I was like having happy thoughts. I was having like actual hope. It was so weird. I'm being dead serious. It was so fucking weird. And like I like pretty much all my suicidal thoughts that I just were living with, never acted on, obviously, but like they were just like there and like on like
Repeat.
yeah, they're on repeat. Yeah, exactly. It's like a jukebox of depression. Like you just pick which thought you want to have today, or like what series, and like it's like a playlist of like death. Gone. I was sleeping a little bit better, and then yeah, it was very strange. But again, because it was artificial and synthetic, and I was on a very low dosage of the medication. It started to wear off after about 6 months or so. But I love talking shit about big pharma because I think they are actively dissolving this country. But one of the positives of taking that antipsychotic was that it showed my brain what was possible and what could happen. Right. So I ended up getting off of it. I was like, this isn't really helping all that much. And now for some reason, it's actually starting to affect like my sexual health. So I was like, okay, we need to like move away from this. So then I get my blood work done and shit, and I got on T, and I was like, oh, okay, it's a hormonal imbalance. And then, so to bring this all back to the internal monologue stuff, I noticed that when I'm on, because I'm off right now, but when I'm on test, I'm a lot more focused. The internal monologue's still going. I still have like background music and shit, but it's more like tunnel vision. I can focus it a lot better. Whereas like now, like this is probably the most focused I'll ever be today. Probably right now, and then when I go to see a comedy show later tonight. Other than that, like if I'm at work, oh fuck, I've gotten to the point where I can't have my phone next to me. Like I have to like put it away somewhere out of sight and focus on something. But I still have to have like on one monitor I'll have like my work stuff, and then on the other monitor I'll have like a podcast going or something, just so I can have some kind of like input hitting my brain. Just because my dopamine receptors are so fucked. Like they are so impossibly fucked. But if I'm doing something I don't want to do, oh God, I'm fucking useless. Like I'm shocked I haven't been fired. Don't fire me. But because there are people in my company that watch this. But I am shocked because of how just fucked my my dopamine receptors and how like just like my focus can be so off when I'm not on test. But yeah, my inner monologue is just my brain is always running 100%. Oh, and the other point I wanted to bring up was before I've ended up getting on antipsychotics and on hormonal treatment, there was like a lot of excuse me, there was a lot of like noise in my head. Like it like remember that a lot of my life is SpongeBob references. So remember that episode of SpongeBob where they're having to turn the Krusty Krab into a high dining facility, and Squidward grabs SpongeBob, tells him, you only need to learn how to be a waiter. Forget everything else. So all the little SpongeBobs are like burning the fucking, they're burning everything. Like, what's his name? What's his name? They can't find the file with the name, and they're all just running around and screaming. That's pretty much what it was like. I haven't experienced that in a very long time, so I'm very thankful for. But there would be times like I'd be sitting in class. I'm like, okay, I don't want to fucking be here. And I just zone out. But when I would disassociate, it's like the little inner monologue just like sat down and started screaming. It was just incessant yelling in my head. I was like, this is fun. Okay. Oh, right. We're learning about shapes today. Okay, sounds good. That's what geometry was to me, was just fucking shapes. And that I almost failed that class. But that's what a lot of that inner monologue was too, was just screaming. And I had no idea. Also because I was just so... like my vernacular was not developed and I was just so emotionally immature. So I didn't know how to explain that to people. And again, because of like the environment I was in, I just kind of thought everyone dealt with that. But obviously looking back on it, like, no, I was the special case.
I think a lot of people probably deal with that because I think a lot of it has to do with
Christ, I hope not.
No, well, like things like mental health because people don't know how to express themselves and people aren't very well at... like, I'm the same way. I think I have some type of OCD because I try to express myself and I go back and forth between different subjects in my brain. Like, my brain is constantly going, like, back and forth. I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to say this, but I also want to talk about this. So it's hard for me to stay on track with one subject because I have so many different subjects going on in my brain.
Yep.
But it's like people don't know how to express themselves. And then people are also, like, I think it's getting a little bit more... normalized now to like be in tune with your mental health and like be more informed about like why we are feeling the way that we do, you know, so we can better explain and understand why we feel the way that we do. Yeah. But then, I don't know.
You look like you had something to say. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that, like, with all the subjects going on in your head, because that's why once I got in the rhythm of, like, I'm still fucking learning, but trying to figure out how to do this properly, especially when it's, like, talking to two people at once, it's like my brain, the only visual part of my brain, the only part of it gets activated during this, and it's starting to get adapted a little bit when I do stand-up, because it's like I have a cork board, like a pin board in my brain. And as I'm hearing you guys talk, I'm like, okay, that's a subject. Okay, leave that here. That falls into this. That's where I want to tag into that. And then that's how I want to, I weave a conversation. My brain is slowly figuring out how to do that properly. And I'm also trying to figure out how to do that, like writing and performing better stand-up. But this is probably one of the best things I have right now to, like, help that, like, whether it's ADD or OCD, whatever the fuck it is, where it's like
I meant ADD. Did I say OCD earlier? Yeah.
Where it's like so many things are happening in the brain. How do I organize it, and then how do I all package it together to be a well articulated, well thought out, presentable speech, I guess, or like expression of thought. Trying not to sound like a fucking Alex Jones rant. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting, like, how that plays into the inner monologue part of me, I guess, because again, to go from just incessant screaming depressive thoughts to, because I was just so, and I was also just so antisocial back then. Like, I had my couple of friends where we all just play video games together and hang out on the weekends, but, like, I wasn't, like, the most social guy. Like, I wasn't, like, not that I ever got invited to parties, but I'm sure if I did get invited to parties, I wouldn't have gone, because it's like I actively avoided those situations. Yeah. Right? I avoided a lot of social interaction that wasn't, like, people I had known for a long time, just because, like, oh shit, what if the weird gets out? You know what I mean? Yeah. So then having to do this was a big, like, step out of that. So, but then it just became, like, you're talking about a little bit at the beginning, you're just starting out doing it with your friends. You're just talking shit. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah. So that's just, but your inner monologue is more visual. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah, I see a lot of stuff.
Oh my God. Talk about 1,000-yard stare. Holy shit. But no, so what is that, no pun intended, but what does that look like for you? Like, how does that present itself?
It's hard to explain, because sometimes I feel like there's nothing going on in my head. Like, it's just complete emptiness, and it's just like, where are the thoughts? Where is the stuff? Or, like, sometimes it feels like my brain is just, like, vibrating, and it's just like, I think that's maybe, like, the equivalent of you're yelling in your head. Yeah. It's just like my brain's just, like, shaking. Yeah. Yeah. But with the visual aspect, it's not all the time. It's only with, like, certain things and stuff. So, like, you know, if I get a text from somebody, I don't read I don't hear it in my head. I don't, like, read it in my head, if that makes sense. Like, I actually, like, when I get the text message, like, for instance, if her and I are texting, you know, and when she would text me when she'd be at school, like, I'd be able to, when I'd get that text message from her, what would pop in my head immediately is a clear image of her somewhere on UNM campus sending that text message. And it's actually me seeing her typing the message in my head rather than, like, receiving the message and, like, reading it.
That sounds like so much more fun. But you're pretty much Professor Xavier with that fucking cerebral shit on his head. That's awesome.
But it's only with people that, like, I know. Like, if it's some random person texting me, my brain, well, I shouldn't say that. My brain does still conjure up, like, an image of what I assume that they're doing, or that my brain assumes that they're doing.
A perceived image.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, you know, like, when because I do all the sales calls for, like, my business and stuff. And so when I'm texting with people that I haven't met before, but I've seen, like, them on social media and I know what they look like my brain puts some image in my head of, like, that face doing something while they're texting me. Huh. And it's weird. And, like, it is kind of fun in that aspect. And that's one reason why I love reading books, because it's just like, as I read it, I don't even have to think about it, and a whole clear image pops up and it stays in my head like a movie, almost like if you're watching a movie. It's just like everything I read, it changes in my head as the book changes. So it's like books are really fun for me. But the visual aspect gets really not a fun place when it's like intrusive thoughts, or like, for instance, like scary movies. I can't do scary movies because I have such a visual brain. I see that image everywhere, and it stays, and because it's an intrusive thought now, it stays in my head. So like anywhere I look.
Like the gory shit.
Well, yeah, that's not scary. Well, I was about to say that's not scary, and I don't know what that says, but like that, it's not like, I think it's, I don't know why it only works with certain things. Like with like scary images, it works. Like watching someone get decapitated doesn't stay in my head. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
But like the psychological horror is what fucks with you.
Or like demons, like ghosts, like, yeah. Right. And it stays, and then it's like, it literally puts like, I can't tell you how many times I've scared myself because not only does my brain create very realistic images, or essentially like copy images of what I just saw, it also like projects it in real time for me.
Oh, so
so then I start seeing things, and I'm like, is this real or is this in my head? And so like, and then like with intrusive thoughts too, like I don't necessarily get the thoughts in an aspect of like a voice telling me stuff. It's more I visualize it. So that can sometimes be disturbing when it's like a self-harm type of intrusive thought, and then it's just living repeat in my head in great detail of that happening to me.
Interesting.
So it's, I don't know. It's weird. My brain's a weird place. It's an interesting one.
Interesting. So when you're doing the podcast, and you're obviously having, whether it's just the two of you doing it or you have a guest with you, and you're trying to navigate their words to figure out what you're going to say next, what you're going to bring up next, ask next, whatever. What is that? How does that get like digested in your brain? Honestly,
I have no idea. It's just kind of like, honestly, this whole time that we've been talking, it's just kind of empty in there. It's just like a response. Like I don't know.
It's fucking empty in there.
It's just empty in here. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like sometimes it's so weird. Like sometimes I'll zone out and I'm not even thinking about anything. And it's just, I don't have a place in time and existence at that moment. And then it's just like comes back and I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Yeah. That was a nice topic. So like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like when we have podcasts, half the time it's just me. Like you'll see in the videos, I'm just like, and it's my existence has ceased.
I do a lot of zoom ins to your face because I'll be saying something and she's all like.
but I think it's because like it is like it's empty in there. Like it's not like when like how you were explaining it, like you kind of piece things together and stuff. Like in my head, it's just like I hear what you say, and then it's just like whoop. Not.
I wish. No.
I don't mean that in a bad way.
No. I'm looking at you with a bit of envy. Because I wish I could experience that for like 30 seconds.
But then it's also weird because sometimes it like things that people say or like experiences really stick. And then it's like on just constant repeat in my head in an image. So I don't fucking know.
Yeah. I also perseverate. Like
what?
Thanks.
That's like where you
that's a 10-point
think about
word
things.
In Scramble.
Like it's when you
Okay, I'm sorry. What is perseverate? I actually don't even know how to score Scramble, so I don't even know if that makes sense.
I get what you're trying to say. Yeah, I've played Scrabble in so long.
I think about things over and over and over again. Like I have a very empathetic, or like even things that make me cringe. Like if I did something like years ago in like elementary school, like I'll still think about it till this day. And then if I make someone like feel bad, or if I feel like I made someone feel bad, I'll like constantly think about like I should text that person. Like I didn't mean to make a person feel bad. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
And they're probably not even thinking about it, but it's
and I think about it over and over and over and over and over again. But yeah, my brain.
Can both of you remember elementary school?
Bits of it.
I have like vivid memories of my childhood. Like I can remember the day. I could remember what I said to someone.
I can't go that deep, but if you ask me like, what do you think happened at this age or like this grade, especially like this grade, I have like a couple of thoughts like, so one time I almost got, I haven't thought about this in a while. I almost got kicked out of my elementary school. I went to 7 Bar and, yeah, looking back on it, I was a little demon. So we were because me and my friends when we were kids, like all we really did was fight. That's all we were the kids at school that just fought, and not like maliciously.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously Albuquerque, you hear about kids fucking bringing knives and shit to school. We're never those fucking assholes, but we just beat the shit out of each other. And I remember one kid embarrassed the fuck out of me. This is like 4th grade or something like that. We were fighting, and he hit me in the stomach. And I lost the wind. And as I was going down, he pantsed me. And so I was like, this fucking asshole. So I get my shit together. I pull my
with his pants down. He's like running. Get back here.
Like Patrick. So I pull my shorts back up and I chase this kid. And he tries to escape by climbing up these stairs that go to like a slide, right? And I don't know what material, but they were obviously steel that were like coated over with this like rubber or whatever. So he's trying to go up the stairs and I grab his fucking ankle. And I try to pull him, but he's holding onto the handlebars. So I was, Dad, I shouldn't be laughing about this. I probably fucked this kid up. I grabbed his other ankle and went like that, and the fucker lost grip. Well, no, he lost grip and went face first into the steel stairs.
No.
And went down like 5 stairs, and like I dragged his ass down, and he just like he wasn't like dead obviously, but he was like not moving and just bleeding everywhere. And I was like, and the teacher saw the whole thing. I got suspended for like I think 2 or 3 days. And I fucking shattered the kid's nose on the stairs.
No.
And I feel like something happened to his cheeks. How does it not going down steel stairs like that? Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you like, that's what came to mind for elementary school. Me fucking up, me getting pantsed, and then me fucking with some kid's nose.
Nice.
Do you not remember? Like I
don't know. Like
I remember I was like,
you don't know what you don't know.
Like I remember certain things, but I have no idea when it happened.
It's called a callback, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with it.
Like I can remember some things, but I don't remember like when it happened.
Yeah.
Or, like, so I don't know, like, honestly, all of elementary school is like maybe one memory.
Okay.
And I don't know when it happened. And like, same thing with like childhood. Like there's certain things I remember. And then there's a lot of things I feel like from maybe like 6th grade up, I have better memory of things. And then everything from like 6th up until I guess I was born, like, I don't remember shit.
Right.
So, well, like, I mean, I remember like there's like a few things that stand out. Like my sister used to beat the living crap out of me. So like there are times when like, she like slammed my head into a wall. I remember that. Or like she like burnt all of my back. Like I remember that. Or like, things like that. Like I remember those things. But or like, I don't even know, like even with high school too, like some stuff I'm like, did that actually happen? Or did I like imagine that? Or when did that happen? Or like,
right.
I feel like one of my more vivid memories of high school is like when that dude fucking knocked me out and kicked me in the face. Do you remember that?
No. Whenever you switched to yoga and then we met each other?
It was after. It was junior year of high school. I don't
remember that.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I've been knocked out twice by being kicked by 2 separate men.
Ma'am.
Well, I guess they're more like, I don't know. They're both accidents. Although one didn't apologize, so that's still.
How do you accidentally get kicked in the head?
Just wrong place, wrong time.
Fucking apparently.
Well,
Jesus
so
Christ.
the first time it happened, we had a bunch of kids in our neighborhood. And me and my sister, like, we weren't supposed to be out playing. Like, it was summertime. And my dad traveled a lot when we were young. And so, like, my mom, whenever he'd be out of town, she'd be like, you guys have to be in, like, by at least the house by, like, 9 p.m. type of thing, And we were down the cul-de-sac playing street soccer at night with a bunch of kids, and there was this older, like, I think he was a few years older than me. He was a really tall guy.
How old were you at this point?
It was in 2006. I only know because I've seen the picture recently of my face afterwards, and it says 2006 on it. So I don't know, however fucking old I was then. 8? Maybe? I don't know. And we're playing street soccer, and like I think the ball went in the air or something, and next thing I know, I'm assuming he must like mistake my head for the ball and just yeet across my face, and
Oof.
like I split my lips open.
Oof.
I dislocated my jaw, and
oh fuck.
And we weren't like my sister. So anybody who's hearing this now, she's a wonderful person. We're really close now, but like growing up, she liked to terrorize me, and I feel like all older siblings do to an extent. And she like, I remember she was the trouble child out of the two of us. And so I think she had like recently been in trouble or something. And so she comes over to me and I'm like crying and I'm like, I want to go tell mom or whatever. Like I need like my jaw's like yeah, exactly. And she like looks at me and she like, see, I don't like in my memory, she grabs my jaw, but I don't know if she actually does or not. But she like grabs it and she like stares into my soul and she's like, if you tell mom, she like, I will break your jaw. And I was like,
it's
okay,
already broken.
And so we rinsed out my mouth with a garden hose.
Nice.
And then we just like I think the dude who kicked me, he was like super sad.
He kicked you this way and to fix it, he kicked you that way.
But he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. He like gave me his shirt and we like wrapped it around my fucking I just tied it and I just sat there on the curb like silently crying, watching them play while I like waited to go. And then I hid it from like I managed to hide it from my mom for like 2 more days until I was like, I couldn't do it anymore.
Until you're eating cereal and all the milk fell out.
And so I finally like tell my mom, and my dad was coming home that day. So she was like, well, my dad growing up was like, you don't need to go to a doctor. You have me type of parent. Like he literally put stitches and took stitches out of me on our kitchen table. So like he wasn't very like, it's fine. You don't need to go to the doctor. Just put ice on it. You'll be fine. Like, be tougher. And so my mom was like, well, let's just wait till your dad gets home and, we'll see what he has to say and blah, 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 whatever. Cause it had been a few days. So it's kind of like, was it too late? Are we out of the window period to like reset it? Like, was it fully dislocated? It wasn't doing what it was supposed to do.
Am I just the Goonies monster for the rest of my life?
That's why you have TMJ problems.
Yeah, I actually am going through Invisalign treatment to fix my jaw now.
Oh shit!
And it's been actually really wonderful.
Because TMJ, I don't know what the fuck it stands for, but that's where like your jaw clicks, right?
Oh yeah, my jaw would lock and click a lot, and like to the point where I couldn't open my mouth much sometimes because it would just hurt so bad.
I was gonna say because I know a few people that have experienced that where like they open up their mouth like that much.
Yeah, or like if I would open my mouth, like sometimes it's on this side, like this joint would get stuck and I couldn't open it, and I'd sometimes have to like force my jaw to close again.
You just can't naturally go like.
Yeah,
like
no,
that. Right. Okay.
Yeah, wasn't fun.
Jeez.
But so my dad got home and he looked and stuff and he was like, yeah, it's probably too late. Like you should have gotten stitches for your lips because mind you, they were both like split open.
Oh, they not notice for 2 days. Yeah, don't know.
Her daughter was like half a paper mache project.
Yeah,
and she's just not noticing.
No, I hid from my mom. Okay, she didn't see me during that time
for 2 whole days.
Yeah, she was like, I don't know, it's summer. Like, I would just like go out before, I don't know, but so I never really like got it fixed and just learned how to like deal with it. And then in high school, I was in some sports class. I don't remember the name of it, but we were playing flag football. And once again, I'm very competitive, especially when it comes to the opposite sex. And they're like, oh, girls can't play football. I was like, I will shove this football down your throat. Watch me. So like we're playing flag football and like this guy and I go up to catch the ball. I think he was on offense. He was going up to catch the ball and I was on defense and I didn't like this guy. So I was like, fuck you. You're not getting this ball. So we both go up at the same time. And honestly, next thing I know, I'm in the nurse's office. Actually, no, I'm on the field. The coach is waking me up and he's carrying me to the nurse's office. Oh, shit. So the dude's foot went up my jaw and up my face. And so like the thing that attaches your lip to your mouth like tore off. And when I got to, because I knocked out, I was out for a little bit. And like I had a black eye and like my nose was partially cut, like split a little bit. And so my mom took me to the emergency room when she got the call. I was like, hey, your daughter's knocked out. Like, come pick her up. Took me to the emergency room and the doctor there was like, well, it's a good thing your jaw took most of the impact because if it would have been your nose, it would have crushed inwards and you would have died. And I was like,
because that's
sure, that's nice.
It doesn't take that much force apparently to push your like whatever the fuck that is up and to like poke your brain. Mm-hmm. It takes like 12 pounds of force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know, but then in my adult age when I like had money for fixing my jaw, because like I had gone to a TMJ specialist And, you know, they gave me like some like night retainer to wear or something, and it didn't help. It didn't make it better. So I was like, this is stupid. I'm not going to keep doing this.
What was the thought process?
I don't remember. It was like, I don't know. There's,
Because like a joint, were you grinding your teeth at night because of it? So I feel like I have to get a fucking mouth guard now because I'll wake up in the morning and my jaw's really fucking tight. And I feel like I clench my teeth anyway.
Oh, yeah,
me
too.
That's just, I don't know, the life I live, I guess. But
the screaming.
Yeah. But in the morning, like I wake up and like, I'm like, oh fuck, really again?
Damn it. I honestly, I don't remember, but I think 2 years ago. Do you think that's when I started it?
You're
know my life better, yeah. Or maybe a year ago.
It's been a while.
It was when I got back from Africa, because I went to the consultation before I went to Africa, and then I told the doctor, I was like, hey, I'm going to be in Africa for a few months. Should I wait to start, or should we start now? And he's like, let's wait till you get back. So it was, I don't know, maybe like a year and a half I've been on Invisalign, and my jaw used to, like, if I'd bring my teeth together, my jaw used to be like this way, and like my bottom teeth would line up with like this tooth.
Oh,
and now it's a lot better. So like, it's not as much clicking. Like the actual muscles in my jaw still hurt every now and then, and it just gets really tight in this area, but it doesn't click or lock as much. Like every now and then it'll click, and I'm like, it's coming back. But that's like that. I don't know. That's like the main thing I remember from high school. And then when we met in high school, and that was a.
What were you doing in Africa for a few months?
I was working on HIV research.
Oh shit.
Yeah. When I graduated, so
Still sucks?
HIV.
Bad joke, sorry.
Well, it's actually better now. It's livable.
Oh, I've seen commercials for like.
I was like, is that an intentional kick? Am I saying something
I
bad?
just like.
No, it still kills you. It still kills you. No, I heard, and I've seen like commercials for it and shit, where now like there's medicine that suppresses it, right? And it makes it non-contagious.
If you're like compliant with how you're supposed to.
I was gonna say, how trustworthy is that?
If you actually do what you're supposed to do, it works.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, HIV now, it rarely, well, I shouldn't say rarely, it kind of depends on, where you live, access to medication, all that stuff. But if like here in the United States, if you have HIV and you have access to medication and you take it, chances of it actually ever progressing to AIDS, which is actually the part that kills you.
Right.
Very slim.
So what were you researching in Africa?
Vaccines for HIV.
Oh shit.
So my degree is in public health. And so when I graduated, I was going to go straight into master's or graduate program. And then I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. I was like, do I want to spend money for more schooling? I'm not a big school person. So I was like, do I want to go? And I was like, you know what? Like, I kind of want to work for a little bit. I want to see like what my degree can do so I can figure out, because like public health, it's a very broad degree. Like you can do a lot with it. And so I was like, if I want to go for my master's, I want to be specialized in something like maybe immunology or whatever. And so I was looking for like internships and things, and I really wanted to travel. And I've always been like so in school, we've had to make a lot of like our own research proposals and stuff like that. And I did one for HIV, and I was like, you know what, like this organization that I went through is called the VA Corps. They had like programs where I worked with like, I got paired up with the Desmond Tutu HIV Foundation out in Africa. And so went out there for, I think it was like a little over 2 months or something. Because if you stay longer than 2 months, you have to get a work visa, and that's like a whole thing. And I was kind of just trying to dip my toes in the research field to see like, do I like this?
What part of Africa was it?
I was in Cape Town, so I was in South Africa.
Okay.
And it was when COVID was happening.
Oh, fuck.
And so I actually got there at a good time, because like a few weeks later, the group that was trying to come, they were like, nope, sorry, we're closing our borders type of thing. And so it kind of sucked in one aspect, because like I only worked Monday through Thursday. So I'd have, a 3-day weekend, and I wanted to like go explore other parts of Africa, like go to Zimbabwe and like all these places and stuff. And couldn't, because borders were closed.
Right.
But yeah, so I went to South Africa and stayed there, and it was very interesting because like I'd never traveled by myself before, so that was a fun first travel experience.
Sure.
And I mean, it was really interesting. Like the vaccines that they were working on was, they had quite a few studies going on looking at different vaccines and suppressing the HIV and getting rid of it and stuff. And unfortunately, all of them weren't coming back with, the findings needed to actually make it like a cure type of thing. And then because of COVID, they also had other studies going on that was looking at like COVID vaccine efficacy in people with suppressed immune systems like HIV, stuff like that. Granted, they were only looking at like the Johnson & Johnson vaccines, which weren't really great ones to start with.
Yeah.
So it was mainly like just stuff like that.
There's my community guidelines flag. Awesome. Thanks, YouTube.
Sorry. So it was like stuff like that. But honestly, it was more like, I think I went into Africa with higher expectations of what I would be allowed to do. And being like my first internship, like, I don't know, like I was brand new to public health and clinical research. So I'm glad that I did that experience and like kind of saw that, like, okay, these are the types of, positions and research that I would be interested in, blah, 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 whatever. But what was really cool is attached to that, the research clinic was a family planning clinic ran by nurses that served girls and guys from 12 to 24 years of age. And so on slow days in the clinic or whenever I'd finish my work and stuff, they'd go send me to go help out with the family planning clinic. And like I'd actually do a lot of like nutrition counseling for them, things like that, which was really interesting because there was a very significant language barrier. It's like I stayed in Cape Town, which is a very more like white African, South African type of population, a lot of more like international people because that's the University of Cape Town. It's a very like renowned university. But I would travel an hour a day to go to this town called Fishhook. And then within Fishhook, I would work in a township called Masafumalele.
Yeah.
and so like, don't ask me to spell it. And so like, what's really interesting about South Africa is like, you can be within a really, like nice, rich neighborhood. And then within that neighborhood, they have what's called townships. So it's just very impoverished areas of living that the government doesn't regulate.
That sounds like America, dude.
Yeah. But it's not like it's interesting, like seeing what they build their houses out of in those townships and stuff.
Well, so just from my personal African experience, it's a bunch of fucking sheet metal and shit, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I went to a place called Djibouti, and that's a lot of that. Yeah. Was a lot of very industrious and MacGyver-like homeless people that were putting together sheet metal and fucking
lots of sheet metal and just buckets and all sort of like mud on the sheet metal to like and what was interesting is within Masafumalele, the main like tribe there was the Xhosa tribe, and so that's the language where you click your tongue. And so what's really interesting is like if you click on the top of your mouth, that signals like, I don't remember the actual letter, but like for the sake of the example, let's say the top of the mouth is an X, the bottom of the mouth is a Q, the side of the mouth is like a K. So like it was such a cool language to just sit there and listen, but at the same time like trying to like communicate with
I can't do my left side of the face apparently.
It was so interesting because like the clinic I worked in, a lot of it was Xhosa people and a lot of it was like South Afrikaans, which was like the more like Dutch English language that they speak. And so like hearing both of them, I'd be like, what the fuck's going on? There's so many. So it was like really interesting trying to explain nutrition in a language that I did not know how to speak. But what was more interesting is just like,
you can get sent with like a terp or anything like that?
No.
What the fuck?
It was just kind of, we figure it out. Although like, so the organization I went through, they did have, we did have cultural lessons, which was really cool. So like once a week, the people that worked within the VA Corps, like they do, lessons on how to speak Xhosa, and they do like lessons on how to cook like traditional African foods and like, educational stuff. So that was really cool. And, I took the lessons, but it's a hard language to learn.
How much of that are you really going to retain?
None.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't like when I did leave Africa, I was able to remember which click meant which letter. And now that I don't need to ever use it or talk about it, I'm like, I don't remember.
It's a very perishable skill.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's crazy like hearing, cause like in my degree, a lot of it was global health. And I remember like my professor, he was in the Peace Corps for a really long time. Like he has a lot of international experience. And he would be telling us like, stories and stuff. And we're, sitting there taking notes on our MacBooks, like in a Division I school, like, oh yeah, I understand. And so it's actually crazy to like go there and be like, oh, he meant like this stuff is still going on.
Right.
Like it was I don't even know. Like, there are so many. So there was one time where a mom and a 12-year-old girl came in, and, you know, the nurse would always introduce me and make sure it was okay that I was there for, you know, their appointment or whatever. And she'd always be like, if you also don't mind, like, explaining why you're doing what you're doing for our fellow American friends, so she can kind of understand what is the normal here. And so this mother came in with her 12-year-old daughter and wanted to get her on birth control. And the nurse, she was like, do you mind, you know, explaining to her why you want your 12-year-old daughter to get on birth control? You know, because she had asked, like, she's like, oh, well, you're sexually active. And, you know, the daughter and the mom were both like, no, and stuff. And so the mom was like, well, she's like, you know, it's such a man-dominated culture that it's men get essentially whatever they want. And she's on, so when my daughter gets raped, not if, when my daughter gets raped, at least she won't fall pregnant to her rapist. So that's why most of the women in that tribe was on birth control. And I was just like, huh, what? Or like, it's just, you know, there was like, a lot of it was for birth control. As a lot of the appointments I saw are for like STDs, things like that. And there was one, you know, there's various forms of birth control. And one of them is an Nexplanon, which is like a little injection in your arm. And it's this little soft bar that goes underneath the skin and like releases hormones into your blood system and stuff. And a lot of the girls were terrified of that. And the nurse was like, can you explain to her why you're scared of the Nexplanon, even though it's a very, for them, you know, with their living situations, the like injection of like the 2-month and 3-month birth control or the Nexplanon or an IUD would be the best option. And so she's like, do you mind explaining why you guys are scared of the Nexplanon? And they would tell me, they're like, well, guys in our community, you know, if they see the bump in the arm, they'll hold us down, cut it out, take it out, and snort it, thinking that it can give some like euphoric effect. And I was just like, what? And so like, it was just, I don't even know what adjective to use to sit there and like hear so many different stories of the same type of outcome and prevention that they were doing, of like, we're doing this because of, you know, whatever. Or like, we met this one guy who told us information about like their becoming of age type of rituals. And like, for him telling us, being women, like he could have been disowned by his tribe and like kicked out of his community, because as women, we're not like supposed to know what happens at the bush, is what it's called. It's called going to the bush. And it's essentially like when a man or a boy is becoming of age to be a man, so like 16, 17, 18, they go on like this excursion called going to the bush. And basically what it is, you know, the sooner that you go, the more of a man you are. Like if you wait till you're older, it's kind of like frowned upon in the community. And it's like you go to the bush, and what it is like all the men or all the boys that are doing this to become men, like line up in a row. And they can't scream and they can't move, because if they scream, it's considered weakness and it gets back to their tribe, and now they're not marriage material for women. And so they then, with the same knife, mind you, HIV is very prevalent in South Africa. With the same knife, they go in a row and they circumcise every man, every boy there. No medication, no nothing. Just one man gets circumcised and he has to stand there and wait until everybody in the row is done. And then after that, they stay in their normal form, you know, naked and stuff. And they have to stay in the bush or the jungle area, wherever they're doing it at. And they have to stay in there until they have like, until they meet their ancestors, essentially, through like hallucinations. Because when they're in the bush, they can't drink any water and they can't eat any food. Because if they drink water, eat food, it interrupts like the ancestral coming to them. And it also means that they're weak. And once again, that gets back to the community, that they're not a suitable man for women to marry. And so you can be in the bush for 3 days. You can be in it for 3 weeks. You know, well, I mean, probably not, because you would die. But a lot of people would actually die in the bush. And then if you also seek, this was the most crazy, well, I shouldn't say most crazy, but this is a very crazy part too, is like, let's say you had your kind of like spirit journey, and then you come out and, you know, let's say maybe your circumcision is infected because you've been in nature frolicking about for a while. If you then go to seek medical treatment to deal with that, you are no longer deemed eligible for women, because that's weakness. And so I was asking the guy, because, you know, I was telling him that I was working with HIV, and I was like, so how do you guys like are there any precautions to making sure that doesn't get, transmitted amongst each other? And they're like, well, we make sure everybody gets tested before. It's a step in the right direction. However, with HIV tests, like there's a latency period of where the actual virus stays dormant in the body. And so like if you, like let's say you had sex 2 weeks ago and you test for HIV, or let's say you had sex 2 weeks ago and then you had sex 2 weeks ago, you get tested, it shows negative. But let's say you also had sex like the day before you go to the bush, it's not like you can't for sure say, if you're positive for HIV.
That second partner didn't give you right.
Yeah. Or even if the first partner, let's just say you just slept with
shit.
them.
Okay.
And because there's usually like that dormant period where the virus doesn't fully activate yet and show up, or like there has to be a certain amount of virus in your body to show positive on a test. So it's like enough of it may not have built up in the body yet. And so like testing isn't always the best. Like, the best option would be just clean the knife in between each use, or like use a different knife or whatever. But like,
as a man, I'd like to make a recommendation to not just openly circumcise in the woods.
But like that's their culture.
Right,
like that's their normal. So it's like, if you are going to make an adjustment, it can't be something that drastic. But I was just like sitting there like, I can't believe
this is happening.
This still happens.
So to bring it back really quick to the mother and daughter that you saw in your clinic, do you remember what the daughter ended up getting?
She's got some, I believe she got the pill.
Okay.
So a lot of the girls that would come to get birth control, they did the shot because they didn't want their family knowing because they were sexually active.
And was that just like a hormone suppressant?
Or
a hormone shot?
Yeah, it's like it's a.
I don't know shit about birth control.
Do you remember do you know the name of the shot? I can't think of it. The one that there's an option to get it either every like 3 months or 2 months.
I don't know the name.
I don't remember the name of it, but you get it shot you get it in your butt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just essentially a burst of synthetic hormones to change how the levels of progesterone and estrogen release in your body within like cycle to suppress. So
interesting. Birth
control in a nutshell is essentially to do one of two things or three things if you're using like a copper IUD. Is so like if you have hormonal birth control, its main purpose is either to change the amounts of progesterone and estrogen in our bodies so that we can't get pregnant, or the other one is like to increase cervical mucus so much that sperm can't travel into the uterus.
Huh.
And then like with the copper IUD, which is like...
So sorry to cut you off. Where does that exactly... Again, I don't know shit. So like where does that mucus build up to where sperm can't make it to the egg?
In the cervix.
Okay.
So you have like the vaginal canal, then the cervix.
Right.
And then this is the... Okay, we're going to do some female anatomy, okay? Yeah. Okay, so the vaginal canal is right here, okay? And then the cervix...
Right.
Like that.
Yes.
Okay, and then we have our fallopian tubes. This is where the egg travels.
Here's the uterus.
Okay, here's the uterus here.
Right.
So you have a lot of mucus in here. That way the sperm can't get to the fallopian tubes where it will fertilize the egg. And then it drops into the uterus so it can...
What is it called? What's it called where it's the type of birth that goes very, very wrong?
Ectopic?
Where it stops in the fallopian tube, right? That's what that's called.
Ectopic pregnancy.
Yeah, that can be very dangerous for the mother.
Yeah, I was trying to, because that came up in conversation last night. I was trying to remember the fucking name for it. But anyway. Okay, so we continue. Because I was just curious about where all that mucus builds up.
Do you know what an IUD is?
Yeah.
It's like the little T-shaped thing that gets inserted into the uterus.
Yeah, I have a vague idea
So
of that.
like there's hormonal one where, once again, it releases synthetic hormones to change how your body has a period. And then the other one is a copper IUD. And correct me if I'm wrong, because you probably know more about this, but the copper IUD, like it's thought to believe or proven in research, I'm not really sure, that like the copper can kill sperm on contact.
Yeah, because it's... Yeah.
My laser glass.
It's like Space Invaders.
So like the issue with like using pill form birth control is you have to take it every single day at the same time in order for it to be effective.
Right.
So if you're trying to hide that from, and once again, like as you've seen like little township homes, there's not a lot of privacy in them. So like if a girl is being sexually active and doesn't want her parents to know, trying to hide pills in the house, it's not going to work very well. Whereas like, you know, the Nexplanon could be a very beneficial one, you know, if you don't like want people to know you're on birth control, or if you just don't want to have to remember to take a pill every single day at the same time. Like the Nexplanon could be good, but then it's also the fear of like having like the process of getting it, like the Nexplanon in, it's like this little gun thingy, that like needle that shoots into your arm, and then it like inserts it, and then you like pull it out.
And how deep into the arm is it? Is that, I never really understood.
Superficial, right?
Yeah, it's
just under the
can,
skin.
like,
it doesn't go
feel
into the muscle. It's flexible, so it moves like with your bicep.
Is it attaching to something? Like, how's it staying in place?
No, it's like your body will
out there.
Yeah, your body will create tissue around it. So yeah.
And then so how's it? We've heard the barbaric way it's removed, but how is it surgically removed? Like,
I think it's the same. Yeah, it's just like
just
they
cut a
do
little.
like a local anesthetic, or like a not a local anesthetic, like a numbing type of. Well, I guess yeah. Sorry, when I'm thinking local anesthetic, I'm thinking like actual like nerve blocker. Is that correct?
Like a lidocaine.
Yeah. They'll do that, and then they'll just do a little like slit and.
Fuck.
I saw one get inserted in the clinic. I never was able to see one get uninserted, taken out.
Uninserted, removed.
Yeah. Neither one is wrong. Some are more, you know. But okay, so fuck. All right, so these. I have so many fucking questions right now. Oh, I don't even know where to start.
Or like, there'd be like freaking so many 14-year-old girls that would come in, like 12, 13, 14, 15, all, you know, in the teen range, that were like, oh yeah, like I don't want to have another baby. And I'm like, what?
Right.
And you know what the sad part is these girls are all very smart. It's just the lack of education that is provided to them.
Yeah.
About just like their bodies. Like for instance, when I was doing a lot of nutrition counseling, funny that we're circling back to this, they wanted me using like the BMI scale type of measurements for them to determine like, you know, if they're overweight, obese, morbidly obese, whatever. And so even though I'm not the biggest agreeer with the BMI and how it's written and, you know, whatever, like what's crazy is, I mean, you could look at these girls and tell that they were overweight or obese, or even some of them morbidly obese. But because they live in a type of food desert where it's really nothing but like fast foods and not a lot of nutritional food options, like they're all, I think maybe out of all the girls that I saw throughout my time there's maybe only 2 that were in a healthy range of body weight. And it's, you know, like, it's crazy because they didn't think that they were overweight or unhealthy because they were smaller than everyone else in their community. And so I always had a hard time coming in being like this, you know, American, telling them, like, popping that bubble for them of like, hey, by the way, like, I know you just met me and you don't know anything about me and I don't know anything about you, but you're overweight. You've got to make.
And you have a lot of thoughts in your head right now about Americans, and I'm about to fulfill most of them.
Yes. And then it'd be like, and then they'd be like, well, what should I do? And I like would have to essentially figure out how to, like, you know, because when we would drive there in our little, like, a bus would come and pick us up, all the workers that lived in Observatory, which is where I was staying in Cape Town. Like, we'd drive and stuff, and as we're approaching the clinic, you know, there'd be sellers on the street for like produce and stuff like that. So I tell them, I'm like, hey, instead of going to the store and like, you know, getting chips and just eating that for the day, like, could you spend that same money on like fruit, veggies, you know, maybe? Like, it was hard because like they didn't have the resources or availability of food like we do here in America, or even in different parts of South Africa. Like, there are very wealthy parts of South Africa where I was like, they're doing way better than America. And so it was like, it was hard to come up with a solution to their problem because it just didn't sit right with me being like, yeah, you're overweight, just, you know, exercise more, eat lean meat, vegetable. And like, no, they're not. Right. That's an insult to them and their culture and how they live. Like, so to come in and just be like, oh, do this, like, yeah, it was difficult.
Well, and to talk about different cultures. So, and we're experiencing this, and not to get extremely political, but we're experiencing a lot of this, I feel like, in the West with this whole Israel-Hamas war that's going on right now. And the best way that I heard it put was by Ben Shapiro. So you tell a story of, well, the mother brings in the 12-year-old daughter saying, hey, you know, when my daughter gets raped, I don't want her to get pregnant. So that's obviously shocking to Americans because, like, we
generally have a sense of right and wrong, and that's fucking horrible. But at the same time, and again, the way he had put it, and it just made the most sense to me, is that because the West, not just America, but the West lives in this bubble of some kind of normalcy, right? And we generally have an idea of what's morally right and wrong, that when we hear about stuff like that in those cultures, we don't, your brain is really good to, oh, well, that's just how it is over there. It's like, oh, that's so fucking wrong. That needs to get changed. And it's like, well, because of this bubble we live in, there's this weird Western narcissism, which like everyone thinks like us. So obviously they think like us, but they're choosing to do wrong. And so when, like I think it's 2 weekends ago now when Israel got attacked, and the American thought, it's like, oh, well, I mean, if these terrorists are coming in and they're murdering all these people, they're killing children, they're raping women and all these things, well, obviously Israel deserved it because they must have done something very equal. It's like, well, no, maybe there are just evil fucking people in this world, and there are evil fucking cultures in this world, and they don't think like we do. And they see these things as these class of people are lower than us, or they, because of whether it's their gender, their creed, their religious beliefs, their age, whatever it is. So it's like, yeah, to us, that's absolutely fucking horrible and barbaric. But over there, they just do not think the same way we do. And I think experiences like yours, right, going over and hearing like what these people are going through is like, yeah, like a mother. Is that really my fucking phone? No. The fuck? The fuck? Hell no. What the fuck? I'm a recruiter. Don't call me. Anyway, going over and experiencing those, or hearing those people's experiences and being able to relay that back, like, those are important things that need to get told. That's the point. And a lot of words short. That's what I'm trying to get to. So going back to birth control, there's a lot of studies, I guess, that are coming out now that's saying like outside of reproductive damage that birth control can do, it's also like I'm hearing stories now and reading reports of women that will, they're on a form of birth control, whether it's the pill, an IUD, the what's it called? Nexplanon. Thank you. They're on these different types of birth control. They're dating somebody, and whether they're dating, they get engaged, married, whatever, and then they get off of birth control, and they find they have a different type of attraction to their partner, if none at all. Have you guys heard of this?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, so what the fuck is causing that? Like, obviously, to me, it goes like, my brain just goes to like hormones and stuff like that. But is it like the female body starts it starts preferring like different like what's it called? Not endorphins. Pheromones. There we go. Thank you. Like the different pheromones that their partner is putting off, they don't like anymore, or like how do you, when you hear stuff like that, how do you take that? Because it doesn't blow my mind, but it kind of makes sense. Like if your whole hormonal like code got rewritten through this artificial drug, and now it's resetting back to normal. And a lot of girls in America, we just heard about where it is in Africa, but I knew girls in middle school that were on birth control. So it's like, if you're growing up and your body is not making hormones the way that it was built to in the beginning, so it's going through puberty improperly, then you get off as an adult and it starts changing. Yeah. I mean, the breadcrumb trail's kind of there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's at no fault to the girl, because she's fucking 13 years old, 12 years old, getting put on birth control. And I remember growing up when I started like having like actual like relationships, rather than just like, oh, we're dating, and then like a month later it's done, right? I found that and just having female friends in general, that a lot of women get on birth control, or young girls get on birth control to regulate periods. Yeah. I know it's a lot of information, but so basically what's going on with the getting on and getting off, where they're no longer attracted to their partner. And then obviously this is a very like male point of view question. What Do you feel like a lot of birth control in America is proposed to young girls as this will regulate your period, not make it as bad, take it?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's like the Trojan horse to get a lot of women on birth control?
Or even with like other symptoms. Like I was put on birth control because of migraines.
What?
Because they were like, oh, maybe it's hormonal migraines. And I was like 13 too.
And it couldn't have been diet, sleep.
Or I don't know, the fact that I've been kicked in the jaw already.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. CTE. Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
I
Yeah, I feel like it's something that's overprescribed and it's kind of like a band-aid, like, oh, you have problems with your period. Oh, you're having pelvic pain or anything like that. Like it's something that
Birth control.
Birth control. And then they look at you weird if you don't want to take birth control. Like I've had multiple gynecologists where I go in, I'm like, I've got off birth control for a reason. It didn't make me feel good. It didn't make my body feel right. And then they're like, why don't you want to be on birth control? I literally had a gynecologist just like look at me straight in the face and be like, why don't you want to be on birth control?
Or
And is that because they're expecting, or they're in this field, they're just getting told yes all the time, or do you think it's because they're expecting you to be sexually active at that age? So like, what do you just want to get pregnant early? You fucking
maybe both.
Yeah.
I also think it's because it's pretty, like, unfortunately, it's normalized to, like, just overprescribe birth control and not really get to the root cause of why you're having these issues. Because, like, an example I use with, like, a lot of my clients, because I do a lot of hormone stuff with them, is, like, a lot of times hormones are to blame. Like, if it's like, oh, I can't lose weight, it's a hormone problem. Or, like, I have hard periods, it's a hormone problem. Think about hormones as, like, a symphony. And if they're all working well together, it's going to make a really pretty sound. But if a violinist starts not playing the same way the rest of the symphony is, it's not going to sound great. And the violinist is going to be to blame, but it's like, okay, well, was the violinist not playing well because it wasn't tuned properly? Did they break a string in their bow? Did something happen that caused them to play off? And so that's the same thing. Like hormones get a lot of blame, but there's usually a reason why they're responding the way they are or they're acting the way they are.
right.
And like she said, birth control is just like a Band-Aid. It's like, oh, you have an irregular period and you've only had your period for a few months because you're 13. Birth control. Take it.
And I'd imagine it's a spectrum as well, but generally speaking, with an irregular period at a certain like a young age like that, is it just because like a heavy flow, not large enough of a flow? Like what the fuck is going on? Like what defines that?
I think it's multiple reasons. Like some girls have like pelvic pain where they're having like extremely amounts of pain whenever they do have their period, and
Like
that's
debilitating
not,
amounts of
like
pain.
they can't even stand up. And if you are having that, that's not normal. You can go to a pelvic floor therapist, which I am wanting to do.
A what in the who now?
A pelvic floor therapist. So with physical therapy,
The pelvis has a floor?
yes,
You have a pelvic floor.
you have a pelvic floor too.
It's not just women, it can be for men too.
Yeah.
Like you've got a muscular, she'll
Yeah.
explain it way better, but
Yeah.
there's
So like for pelvic floor therapy, we can deal for men, we can do like erectile dysfunction, or if you're having like incontinence or like pain with sex, anything like that is something that like you can go to a pelvic floor therapist for, because sometimes there's simple treatments and like exercises that you can do where it's like a dysfunction in the muscle that is causing that. And there's a bunch of different nerves down there that could be causing that pain.
So what
too.
defines the pelvic floor, I guess is a better way to ask that question.
the floor of the
The
pelvis.
floor, yeah, the floor of the pelvis. So you have a pelvis that looks like a little bowl. Okay, let's do another. Okay, so we have your pelvis, okay? This is both of your hips, okay? So they're like this. Your hips, and then the floor is like these, is the floor.
Okay.
And for females, obviously, this is like the pelvic floor, the vagina's right here. But males, they also have a pelvic floor, and then the penis is here. So it's all made, yeah.
You're so fucking stupid. I love it.
But all these muscles work in symphony in order to allow you to perform whatever it is, whether you're peeing, pooping, ejaculating, anything like that. So, what was the question?
But why? Like why? Because I think
Oh, so
like
what type
symptoms of irregular periods, right?
Yeah, so irregular periods, and then what do these type of therapists do to help mitigate or otherwise fix these issues?
Well, the answer is it depends.
Yeah,
So
I would
there's-
imagine
yeah,
so.
there's
but-
so many like different things that can cause pain in the pelvic floor. For women specifically, it could be like endometriosis. Whenever like
which is
whenever you have your period, the lining of your uterus
Which is the
sheds.
endometrium.
Yeah. So it sheds inside and it's supposed to, that's why you have your period. But when endometriosis, it sheds outside of the uterus. So that causes like adhesions within your stomach, and that causes pain because obviously there's a lot of structures and nerves around this area that it can like push on, and then it causes pain.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So with physical therapists, there's not,
girl.
obviously we can't like go inside and get all that endometrial lining that's built up in there, but we can do like massages, and there's some type of like holistic type treatments that people can do too. That's kind of like,
You can also get lidocaine injections into the cervix wall too.
yeah. But I mean, that's just kind of like,
No, I just think that's creepy.
yeah.
I don't recommend it.
I was
It's
going to
just
say, that
crazy.
sounds like
that's
a
kind of
Band-Aid
just a Band-Aid
solution.
fix, and it's
Or
not
like you
really-
can get like, is it true? I remember reading this and I don't know if it was true or not, that you can get like essentially acupuncture inside
yeah.
of.
You can get acupuncture. You can even get acupuncture. Sometimes they put it like on the, like I think you can do it on the actual like clitoris part.
Oh,
And-
whoa.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but it's like the muscle. So like even like
I didn't
With the-
fucking have one, dude.
the-
Jesus Christ.
the labia minora, which is like the lips.
The meat curtains.
Okay, so we have the like. So you can stick some needles in there, and these are muscles too.
Right.
And yeah, so that's a way that you can treat
But
pain.
like, what's frustrating is like, you know, as
Dysfunction.
a young girl, you go to your PCP because most of the time it's hard to schedule with a gynecologist without like a referral from your primary care, or at least back
Interesting.
then.
Didn't know that.
was. It might be different now. I don't know. I don't know. But like you go to the PCP and you talk about your symptoms, whatever, and then either they can right then and there like prescribe you birth control, or they can recommend a gynecologist. And with my own personal experience with PCPs and gynecologists and stuff is like a lot of them I think out of like I've probably seen a bajillion gynecologists because I was personally having a lot of pelvic pain like 4 years ago or something like that. And only one of them had mentioned, well, why don't you try like a pelvic floor therapist? We can refer you. Everyone else was like, well, you're not on birth control. Do you want to get on birth control? Do you want to get back on birth control? Do you want to try a different type of birth control? Like I remember one time when I was on birth control from like 13 consistently straight until I was 20. And that's a very long time to have your hormones.
I was going to say,
Out of
that's
balance.
the most developmental part of your life, and your hormones
Maybe
are,
that's why this is messed up.
you know, fuck.
But I like remember when I was wanting to come off of birth control, and you know my doctor was like, or my gynecologist was like, oh, why do you want to come off? And honestly, I don't really remember now why I did, but I think I was experiencing like it, like Gabby was saying, like my things just weren't feeling right. Like I was super
I felt,
tired
like,
all the time.
depressed,
Yeah.
and yeah.
And that was like the only thing that like made sense. So I was like, yeah, why don't I just experiment coming off of it and see what happens? And plus this was like at the start of my like rebranding myself journey post like bodybuilding stuff. So I was like, I really wanted to get in tune with my body, and I couldn't do that if I was filling it full of synthetic hormones that
You've
deregulated
never
my normal
really
hormones.
felt who you are as a person.
Yeah. And
Ever.
so I told my gynecologist, I was like, yeah, I'd like to come off. And she's like, oh, why, blah, blah. I was telling her whatever. And she's like, well, maybe it's just not that type of birth control that's working well for you. Why don't we just get you a different brand? And I was like, you fucking bitch. No, I said no.
And just to play devil's advocate, is there any like legitimacy to that? How different birth controls affect different people?
I mean, yeah.
Like, is there any like actual
Yeah.
truth to that? Because
Yeah.
again, whenever I hear doctors and just prescribers just pushing medication on people, especially everything we know now of how corrupt big pharma is and how they get a cut of everything they fucking prescribe, like obviously I'm gonna like push pills on you because that's gonna make me money. And on the surface, synthetically, it might fix the issue for 6 months, a year, 2 years, but you're just elongating this problem, right? You're prolonging it rather, and you're just pushing back the window of time where you could get better, or you could just erase it altogether. Because I mean, how many women do you guys know where like they're just always on birth control? They want to have a kid. Okay, no more kid. Back on birth control.
No, it is. Like, honestly, the most I ever learned about periods was actually when I was in Africa, and the nurse was explaining to girls how birth control works. And I was literally sitting there as a college graduate, like,
Right.
what? That's what happens? Oh, like, because It was never talked about. It was never explained. Like when I was put on birth control, maybe the doctor explained it to me, but I was like fucking 13.
Even if I doubt they
but
gave
also
you
like
any real detail.
Yeah. Also like I wasn't put on birth control because of like irregular periods or stuff. I was put on birth control because I thought I had hormonal migraines. And then I just like stayed on it because it became normal for me. Like that was part of my day-to-day routine. Like I'd wake up, pop a pill, go to, you know, and then I got to the point, like I got to the age of like being sexually active and I was like, well, don't want to be pregnant in college. Let's just stay on it. And then, yeah, it's a weird, I was like, I actually took a PCOS, which stands for polycystic ovary syndrome, webinar.
The fuck is that?
That's another fun thing that women can experience where they get cysts on their ovaries.
Oh, okay. I have a friend who had to deal with that. She had to get a full fucking hysterectomy done.
Yeah, it can be a really, unfortunately, a lot of women are misdiagnosed and they're just diagnosed with PCOS. Because like for PCOS, for you to be diagnosed with it, there's 3 things, like 3 requirements that you have to meet, but to be diagnosed with it, you only have to meet 2 of them. But yeah, but like during the webinar,
So what are those 3?
I don't remember off the top of my head. It's some of the symptoms like that you experience. Like there's 3 main symptoms that they look for,
which is stupid because you can experience those symptoms with other things.
Yeah.
As well,
so it's PCOS. Like it actually was showing that due to like, because back in the day,
Your health. Sorry to interrupt you. Your health should not be a fucking choose your own adventure game.
Right?
What the fuck, man? Continue.
I agree.
Oh my God.
But like, you know, since like intravaginal exams and like ultrasounds and stuff, a lot of doctors have been able to correctly diagnose polycystic. Because if you do an ultrasound and you have cysts on your ovaries, like chances are you have polycystic. I mean, you may just have cysts on your ovaries, but if you're also experiencing other symptoms, because it's a hormone imbalance that PCOS is, like, then, you know, chances are that's a more legit diagnosis. And just like she said, you know, experiencing some symptoms that could go with a million other things. And so like, I don't remember the quote completely, but it was talking about how like hormonal birth control isn't used to fix things. It's used to shut off a system. And so like, for instance, like with that doctor prescribing me birth control to deal with migraines, it's not a type of medication or drug that's used to fix illnesses, issues, things like that. It is purely designed to essentially shut off your hormone, your like reproductive system so that you don't become pregnant. And so the fact that doctors are still prescribing birth control to treat other medical issues, like why can't we, you know, look more into diet? Why can't we look more into pelvic floor therapy? Like why can't we look more into like...
That doesn't make Big Pharma any money.
Yeah, and that's... yeah, it's a whole thing because like her and I both are advocates for no birth control. And, you know, working with a lot of women, they're so terrified of becoming pregnant. But it's like we were never taught how to interpret our, like, cycle and how to know, like, okay, this is the no-no time. Like, stay away from, you know, sex at this time because, you know, this is like, you know, like we were never taught that. Like everything I know about the menstrual cycle and the different phases that we have and the changes in the hormones and all that stuff is because of my own self-research because I was tired of not understanding what was happening to my body every 28 days of the month. And then learned it and then I was like, wow, this is real fucked up. And granted, you know, I don't necessarily like push on the women that they should get off birth control. It's kind of more like if you want to, I'll listen and help you. But like
it sounds like a do your own diligent research thing that you push on, not push, but you put forward, that you present. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah. I like being 25. I know this year I've learned so much about the reproductive cycle in us and the menstrual cycle and like all the, I didn't realize that there were fucking like 4 different phases of our period, like until this year. And I'm sitting here just like, wow, like we're just told from the very get-go, like, just take these pills and you'll be fine. Just do this, you'll be fine. And it's like no one, like I had health education classes in like high school or like sex ed classes. And like I even had a sex health class for my degree, but they never talked about the different phases, the different changes, like which estrogen or which hormones actually change during each phase and why it makes those types of symptoms and what actually happens and all this stuff until like this year.
Like bloating and mood
yeah,
swings
like
and
bloating,
stuff like
period poops, mood swings.
What?
It's a lovely thing that girls experience. And like
He's just taking fucking massive dookies during that week, or like what the?
No, not like that. It's just like, so we have something called prostaglandins that get like, they're a fat based type of, it's not a hormone, right?
Prostaglandins?
No, right? What is it? I know it's made from like, it's fat of something.
I don't know.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Honestly.
But prostaglandins, it's a type of thing that gets released when we're on our cycle or when we're menstruating, because it helps relax the muscles. And so it's like, it's made in the body essentially to help relax the uterine muscles so that we can shed the endometrium better, which is the blood.
Right. Are you talking about progesterone?
No, prostaglandins.
Okay.
Prostaglandins are made during our cycle. I just don't remember what they're made from, like if it's a hormone based or an actual, like something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. But these prostaglandins are made to help with relaxing the muscles and stuff. But unfortunately, sometimes that also relaxes the colon muscles too. So we just get a lot of diarrhea when we're on our periods.
Shit.
Yeah, it's a really fun experience. And so like learning about like that is to an extent normal, you know, or like what are normal-ish. I mean, every woman experienced something different. So what's normal for me probably isn't normal for her, which isn't normal for someone else. But there are like spectrums of that normalcy. Yeah.
They're
like she was saying, like if you're in like super bad pain, debilitating to where you can't go to work or whatever, it's like, oh, you might maybe want to look into that. Or like if you're bleeding in between your periods, or like if you're, you know, whatever it may be, like there's a lot of things that are abnormal, and then there's a lot of things within normal symptoms that are no longer normal, because it's like on one end of the spectrum on either thing. And so, yeah, it's just like, it's frustrating that there isn't enough like mandatory education. And I think guys should be educated on it too, so that they understand more about like why we may be the way we are, like why our mood does change, or like why we do have like period poops, or, you know, whatever it may be. So I don't know. It's just a frustrating
cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there are moments in my life where I've just become more thankful that I'm not a woman, and this is one of them, because Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's fun.
What the fuck? So, all of that being said, I guess maybe a lot of it could be theories, but why are there more and more studies and I guess stories as well coming out of women getting off birth control, and now they're like no longer attracted to their partner, or they're more, I don't know, like it's just that whatever that was there that was maintaining that like pheromonal based attraction is not clicking anymore.
That part, I don't know. I don't have a great answer towards that.
I don't either. I mean, I think the only thing could just be because like, so if I remember correctly, I believe with most birth control, it suppresses a lot of the, because we have different types of estrogens. We've got like 3 different types of estrogen that our body makes. And I believe with birth control, at least hormonal birth control, it tries to decrease estrogen, right? Or does it do it?
There's different ones.
Because there's progesterone based and estrogen based.
Yeah.
So if you like on a birth control that tries to reduce or stop like estrogen production, and then that's the birth control that you've known and that you've been on, so you've just been living your best life with very little estrogen production,
right?
And then you get off of it, and all of a sudden, you know, once your body realizes that it has to start making its own estrogen again, and it, like you now have higher levels of estrogen, like maybe that could influence, or same thing with progesterone too. Like it makes sense, but I don't know how to make it make sense outside of the brain, outside of my head, or like scientifically speaking, like what the actual facts are. I'm not too sure, but
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel with estrogen and progesterone, like they go in certain cycles depending on your cycle, and if you're on if you're in your ovulation stage, like that's whenever your sex drive is like increased, because that's whenever you can get pregnant. So I feel like, I don't know if it's more a pheromone based type of thing that changes, or it's like a switch in hormones that makes their sex drive lower.
Or it could be that you're actually ovulating again because birth control stops ovulation to some extent. So now maybe that you're off of it and your body's like, oh shit, we can actually release eggs and get pregnant. Yeah, get that dick. Like,
yeah, get that dick, girl.
Like, I don't know. That might be why. And then, like you said, maybe it is pheromone related.
Interesting.
I mean, maybe it's like, you know, kind of similar to what you were talking about earlier with like when you were on your antidepressants, how like you felt a synthetic happiness. And then when you got off of it, it kind of changed how you thought because you are now aware that like you could have that potential of happiness. Like maybe it's the same thing in a different way. Like I really don't. You know who you should ask that question to? Allie. She will probably know because her understanding of like chemistry and stuff is off the charts.
Fuck yeah. Okay. One last topic I want to get to before we get out of here. The importance of sleep.
Sleep, bitch.
Yeah.
Go to sleep right now.
And the reason I ask is because, again, we talked a little bit earlier, just we have so many things going on, so many distractions in our lives. I think most people in our age group tends to go to bed, and when they're falling asleep, they're kind of like this, right? So how important is sleep generally, and what are some like long-term effects of not getting enough sleep?
So many. Sleep, it's literally our body's charge system. So it's whenever we build muscle, we recharge our system. And without that charge, like you have no energy and your body can't function properly. So long-term effects is everything that,
death.
Literally like you can die if you don't have enough sleep.
Right.
But it's more like hormonal changes. You can have an increase in cortisol, which can lead to things like diabetes. Like it's kind of a trickle effect of things that can happen whenever you're not charging your system correctly.
And like from a nutrition standpoint too, like people who even acutely get a poor night's sleep, the next day they tend to eat more like 500 plus more calories than people who slept well. And once again, it's because the body, like she said, sleep is the charging system. And so if you don't get enough sleep, in a way to compensate with the lower energies and the irritability that you may feel and stuff, your brain is very smart. So it starts making signals for you to have, you know, like foods that are more hyper palatable, that are, you know, made from high carbohydrates and high fat intake, because that combination of food releases endorphins in the brain. It, you know, increases serotonin, it increases dopamine. So it helps the brain and you to feel better. But additionally, glucose, which is the breakdown of carbohydrates, is the brain's preferred method of energy. And so like if you are tired and your brain didn't get enough sleep and it's feeling sluggish, it's going to signal for you to eat, you know, some pizza, eat a donut, have some chips. Get takeout instead of making food.
I was going to say, because that's like a combination of, it's got the carbs, but it also has the ease of access, and it's all sugary and good.
And
you get the
dopamine
spike.
Too. Yeah. It's simple carbohydrates instead of complex ones, which just means it gets broken down quicker, so you get a quicker energy release. And so like if you're chronically sleep deprived, like chances are you're not making great choices around food, which can, you know, lead to obesity, diabetes, things like that. You know, from like a kind of including what we were just talking about with like hormones and stuff, you know, like women, you know, so how a lot of times like women will be like, oh, I don't want to tonight, I'm tired or whatever. Like that's, as annoying as that may be, like it is a legitimate thing because, you know, guys, you're just made out of testosterone, and testosterone is the main hormone for libido or sex drive. And since we don't have high levels of testosterone is made at night when we sleep. So if we're not sleeping enough, then our body's not producing enough testosterone. And so we don't have a libido at that point. Then we don't have a sex drive because we are actually tired. And so like, you know, it causes changes in the hormones. It, you know, it can cause digestive issues. It can cause headaches. It can cause all sorts of things. Poor performance in the gym, poor recovery, everything. Because like Gabby said, like if that sleep is when our body heals and grows and replenishes and regenerates. And if you're not getting enough sleep, like that can have, you know, detrimental outcomes depending on how long that goes for and how severe of lack of sleep it is. And I don't know, but it's like sleep is hard. Like I struggle with sleep a lot.
Same.
And it's just because of the distractions that we have in this day and age, is like the phone, the TV. And I feel like people get so reliant on being on their phone and watching a TV show or whatever you do before you go to bed in order to fall asleep whenever it's
I literally fall asleep to YouTube every night.
Yeah.
And I know it's not good for me.
Yeah.
But it's like, and sometimes I have the thought process as I'm going, like laying down, and I'm like, wait, do I really need a form of entertainment all day up until when I go to sleep? Like, what the fuck?
That's what our phones are doing to us.
Yeah.
It's because we're always stimulated, and when we don't have that, the brain's like, "What? You're not giving me what you usually give me."
Give me my dopamine.
Yeah,
Right.
Give me a hit.
yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
What the frick? But
Yeah, so it's like sleep. It's hard to change. I think it's probably one of the hardest habits to change.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
tough, but
and it's all based on habit, because we get in a habit of you're gonna watch your YouTube channel, and without that, it's going to take a couple of weeks to build a new habit, and people don't have that type of discipline to go through a period of poor sleep in order to build that new habit of, okay, I'm not going to be on my phone before I go to bed, or I'm just going to have a good nighttime routine, because it's going to take a period. With anything, it takes time in order to build a new.
yeah, and it's a lot of things that like you don't want to do. Like, you know, a lot of times if you have a hard time staying asleep at night and like you find yourself constantly waking up and like checking your phone or scrolling on your phone to kind of like tire yourself out again, like the way to break that is actually whenever you wake up, and if you can't fall asleep right away, get out of your bed and then go to a different room, and as soon as you get tired, then go back to bed, because our brain also builds up like perceived anxiousness around it. So like if you're sleeping in bed and you can't fall asleep and you're like, fuck, like I'm so tired, and you go to sleep and stuff, like your brain starts soaking that up, and so now it's associating your bedroom as a place of like anxiety and a place of awakeness instead of a place of rest. So like people who fall asleep on the couch a lot before going to bed, that's creating a really negative impact on their sleep, because now your brain is learning that the couch is the place of rest. This is where we sleep. And then so when you get up and you go to bed, and then maybe you might have a hard time falling back asleep again, it's because your brain is like, well, we're in the place of awakeness. Like we sleep on the couch. Bed is where we stress. Why are we? And it gets confused. And so like it's hard to break those habits, and it's hard to like, you know, not have stimulus. A lot of times like people eat in bed, they work in bed, they, you know, they do things in their bedroom other than sleep and sex that then trains their brain that once again, this is a place where we are awake and we are stimulated. It's not a place of rest. And so one, even identifying like, are those habits going on? Is that problem going on? Is there actual anxiety like around sleep? It's hard for people to identify, and then to actually change is hard. And it's like the whole idea of like, you should be in bed by 9 p.m. and like up by 6 a.m. Like once again, that creates perceived stress around that, because if you're going to bed at 9, trying to fall asleep at 9, but you can't fall asleep because you're not actually tired, then once again, you're just reconfirming to your brain that my bedroom and my bed is a place of stressing and being awake. So there's a whole, I don't know.
Yeah. And
It's
it
a hard
doesn't
thing.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't, like the times don't matter. Everyone's different. It's just getting that quality sleep, because I feel like people stress about, oh, I need to go to bed by 9, 10, whatever it is. And then again, that creates that system of stress, and then you're not able to sleep. And it's just focusing and listening to your body whenever you are tired. Go to bed when you are tired, and then you get that quality sleep.
Or
rather
they rely
than
on
quantity.
sleep medication.
Yeah.
Which doesn't do much. It only just sedates the brain. So your brain doesn't actually go through the different sleep cycles. That's why you wake up feeling groggy and like even more tired and worn out, because your brain didn't get any rest. And once again, then you start making poor food choices.
Or you become a fucking Ambien junkie.
That too.
And you hear all those crazy stories of those people sleepwalking.
Mm-hmm.
Like fucking Rogan has a bit about it where he's talking about a comedian friend of his that at one was such a bad Ambien junkie that he woke up. He thought he was asleep. He woke up, turned on his oven, got in his car, went to the supermarket, got a turkey, got mashed potatoes, came back, made a full meal, ate the food, went to bed, got up, called the cops. Because he freaked out.
The cops.
Yeah.
I just made a turkey.
He got him and found a whole like half-eaten fucking turkey and all this shit in his kitchen. He's like, who the fuck broke in here and ate my food? And he's like, and then he saw the security cameras of him doing all this shit, and he doesn't remember any of it.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
That's sleep
He's
medication.
lucky that like his house didn't fucking burn down.
Yeah.
While he was gone at the store.
Crazy fucking shit.
Hey.
Listen, this has been almost fucking 3.5 hours.
Woo.
Shoot, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, what time is it? Dang.
3.5 fucking hours. This has been a blast.
Yeah, thank you for having us on.
Thank you guys for coming by. Where can everyone find you guys' socials and the podcast? Where can you listen to it?
Pornhub.
Some weird guy was listening. Like, I've made it all the way for a good reason.
Feet finder. Patreon. If you want to see that shower scene, just kidding. Instagram.
Yeah,
That's about
Instagram.
it. We're working on we have a YouTube channel, but there's really nothing on it. So I wouldn't waste your time looking at it right now because we're still trying to figure out like filming and all that stuff. But yeah, as of right now, just Instagram.
Instagram and TikTok at Embody Your Health. And
You have a TikTok?
Yes.
Oh yeah, you made that. Thank you. Like I said, she handles the social and like the videos and that stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. Instagram at Embody Your Health. Natalie is Nat Coaches.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm Gabby_Sanchez.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're on Spotify,
Apple,
Google,
all kinds of
podcasts. We're on a lot of different podcast
platforms.
platforms, but I don't main two are Spotify and Apple.
Well, I'm very, very happy we got to do this. And I'm also very proud of you guys for your podcast.
Thank you. Proud of you too.
Thank you.
It was nice to finally meet you in person.
Yes. Yeah, this has been fucking awesome. Very informative. I just got reminded how uneducated I am and how much I love doing this fucking podcast.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for coming on. And I can't wait to see where you guys' pod goes because watching you guys make your upgrades, like the new studio and the new hardware, it's fucking cool.
Thank
so
you.
I'm very happy for you guys. And thank you everyone for listening and watching. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.